The following is a presentation of the Forcecenter podcast feed.
We are live. I am here in my studio. I'm Ken Napzok, and joining us now, of course, is the other force behind Forcecenter, along with Jennifer Landa, of course, Joseph Scrimshaw. Hey, Joseph, how are you?
Hello, it is me. I am here. I'm not in your studio. I
No.
am in my living room. I love there was a tone in which you said "we are live," where it felt like what you were actually saying is "we are alive. We've made it. We're still here. We're fighting a good fight. We're live streaming. We are live streaming."
We are live. It's my old sports side comes out. You're looking live at the Boston Gardens. It starts coming in. But and we've also had a long, fun day, staying up late watching Andor, waking up early to rewatch it. We did a 2-hour plus review on the podcast feed. You and I also taped Data Bank Brawl. And yet you and I are still very excited to talk more Andor here live on the stream.
Oh, yeah, this is my entire Andor day. I'm only about 3/4 through my 24 hours of Andor, because when we're done recording, I'll sit down and just watch it with my wife and see it again through her eyes. See it again for the very first time through the eyes of your wife. That's my Andor journey, and I'm lucky to have it.
Love that. And the show begins with Brian Ward, Time Grappler Clang. Hello. Bong, bong. I'm in a Brian Ward original. Mothma shirt available on Brian's T Public page. Yeah, we're having fun, and Joseph is 100% solid today since Johnny C Books and Comics. Yeah, the robe is looking good there. So
yeah, I'm enjoying it. I need the Jedi energy, and I love that. I love that Mothma meets Metallica shirt.
Right?
Not ride the lightning, but ride the financial solutions. That's Mothma's Metallica album.
Be a lot of fun. People are dropping in here, hanging out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're live, and we are also going to rebroadcast this episode as always. I do want to acknowledge Joseph and I and Jennifer are aware a lot of times we go live at a time convenient to us on the West Coast, not necessarily convenient to, say, our UK friends. We understand. We're going to do some other live streams in the new year at other times, but it is what it is. But we know a lot of you are watching on the replay.
Yeah, and I was very, very excited to make some plans with you, Ken. We went to Smokehouse, which we love in Burbank. We made some plans that we're going to start enacting in the new year. And one of them, when I was a kid, I was thrilled when any superhero team would have like a different location. You'd have like West Coast Avengers or Justice League Europe. Much like Justice League Europe, we're going to try to have some Europe-centric time zone Q&A live stream. So you will be included.
Yeah, we got to get ready for Star Wars Celebration London. You know what I mean? We got to do that. We got to do that. And yes, Douglas pointed out, clean shave look for both. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, the beard's coming back in. Hopefully, I had to shave my beard for a job I did last week where I played the role of an egg roll. You'll all see that very soon. Green screen magic. And man, it's been 2 years since I shaved it. I don't like it. I'm looking a little like Brazo right now, but I need to grow it back up fast.
Yeah, I've actually got a little bit of a 5 o'clock shadow, but my 5 o'clock shadow is now entirely the color of Itchy's fur, so it's hard to see under the light.
More Itchy coming up here. Questions be coming in. Hey, look, here's the thing. We appreciate super chats. We love super chats to help keep the show, the brand going and growing, but not needed to get part of the fun here. Joseph and I can both pull in questions. But we will start off with the super chat from Rob Mag with a great profile picture of a doggy and Rob in the photo. Says, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. What a season. So great. So season 2 is already in the bag and ready to go, right? I needs it. Yeah. That's actually the first thing, Joseph, I think we should talk about here. We are blessed with Star Wars. It rolls out. We get so much Star Wars. We still believe it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. But a show ends, and if you love it and you're invested, Bad Batch, Boba Fett, Mando, Kenobi. Now this, there's that period of time where you're like, where do I go? What do I do? There's no new Star Wars.
Yeah, no, it's such a weird feeling because in one way there is the like, okay, we gotta keep up with everything, but then as soon as it's not the Wednesday night ritual, I'm like, oh, something's wrong, something's gone, something's empty. And then for me, I go through the like, okay, great, well now I'm gonna have time to just like binge rewatch all the other shows, and I'm still trying to find time to do that.
Yeah.
I was maybe over Thanksgiving weekend going to try to watch all of Obi-Wan Kenobi in one sitting. But it's weird. I think it really takes me back to when there wasn't anywhere near as much Star Wars. I remember coming home at like 2:30, 3 a.m. from Attack of the Clones from the midnight premiere screening and just putting on Phantom Menace immediately because I was like, I don't want the feeling to go away. And Andor is such a unique feeling. I'll be interested to see where people turn to get just a little taste of that Andor feeling.
Give me more of that Andor. Give me more of that Andor. Yeah, it's a challenge. You get a little down, you get a little depressed. I think next Tuesday at midnight, I'll be like B2 emo, just going Cassian and just calling for Cassian. But soon enough, season 2, and yeah, we're blessed. But it's nice sometimes as podcasters maybe catch your breath. But hey, that's the nice thing of having this on demand. I'm curious. I'm set to do a Kenobi rewatch soon as well. I've just been kind of craving that show. I love that show. I love the magic and wonder that show has behind some very serious themes. But I want to see what you do when you sit down and watch it one day. What that does to you, watching it like a movie.
Yeah, watching it like a movie, and I think just as we talk about so much, watching it without any of the what's going to happen next, but just enjoying what it is and seeing beats in the first couple episodes that are now more meaningful because you know where it's going to go. That kind of rewatch is always fun.
Got people checking in here. Ronaldo saying, looking sharp, gents. Ronaldo, you're looking sharp in that picture you got there. Brian BC Tiller saying, finished finale about an hour ago, still buzzing. Love this one here. Oscar Film Forecast. Hey, guys, Thanksgiving Eve. Now, there's a long-running joke here where Oscar Film Forecast, we assume that's his real name, Oscar Film Forecast Day or something like that. Thanks to Hive, I think I finally, and this may have been out there before, Joseph, but I finally learned at least Oscar's real first name. Do you want to be surprised, or do you want to just live with the story?
I want to embrace new knowledge. That's what my Jedi robe told me to do.
I think I looked on my Hive. I got a follow. Oh, who's the new follower? And it said Jack Oscar Film Forecast.
Jack Oscar Film Forecast.
It's Jack Oscar.
That you know what? I think that is a distant cousin of Tim Carlo, Jack Oscar, right?
Yeah. So Jack, if that is your identity, thank you. Welcome to the show. But look, Adam Sirius says, hey, don't worry. It's lunchtime here in Australia, so we're good.
Okay, good. We're trying to figure it all out. The world's hard.
As we always do, Justice, we always enjoy a little bit of an adult beverage, and we like to share what we're drinking. What's in your gullet tonight?
There's a great twist on the what's in your wallet. What's in your gullet? I have just a ginger and whiskey. The whiskey is some Johnny Walker. There is some deep and lovely strides in my gullet right now.
Wow, that's powerful stuff there. I'm going pretty simple here. Where did I threw the can? Oh, I threw the can away. I got my creams. Not my cream soda. I got my Zevia creamy root beer, which mixes well with Bacardi Gold. Not a sponsor. Wow. But here's the thing. It's all in this Grogu coffee mug that's super sized.
I'm going to be honest with you. I tried at the last minute right before getting my Jedi robe on and sitting down for this. And I'm talking at like 4:59. I was like, I'm going to use the Death Star ice ball that my wife Connie has the Death Star molds. I was like, that's appropriate for Andor. And you know, it's a fight to get the Death Star out of the mold. Yeah. So I did some swearing and I moved on.
Plus, as we discussed on our podcast today, that end credit scene, which was very fun, if you can describe oppression from a super weapon, fun. It also does put a perspective of all the Death Star memorabilia we all have at some point.
Yeah, no, I kind of wanted to look at that ice cube and wrestle with the fact of this ice cube is a symbol of the Empire forcing people to build the machinery that oppresses them with the people's power that they then steal. Yeah. But it's ice, so it's fun.
But it's fun. Yeah, I have that Lego set staring at me. I've still not taken on that build, that Lego Death Star set. And now, I'll feel a little weird about it if I do. What I do.
Totally understandable. Totally understandable.
I think I have a question to get us started unless you have one that jumped out.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Oh, where was it? I just have it. All right. So David H comes in and says, my question for you guys is, which characters do you think will cameo? We'll just add in up here in season 2 and maybe less of a main role. But I don't know, Joseph. That's also, we could say who might show up in a main role too. What have you looked ahead to season 2 for that kind of cast list?
Yeah, I think so. I think Yeah, I think there's a possibility of substantive appearances, I would say, from Orson Krennic. I'm on the Krennic train now.
Mm, mm,
Happy always to be wrong and let it go. But I
yeah,
think having the Death Star at the end, it's not just a reflection of what the people in the prison were being, put through. It's not to me just this idea that Cassian is sort of intertwined with the
mm,
Death Star. I think it speaks to Nemik's idea that every little contribution matters. But also just putting it there at the end is almost this sort of like, and next time on Andor, remember this is the shadow. Every little operation that Andor might be poking at, or Luthen might be poking at, or Vel or Cinta as rebel spies, is trying to uncover what are they building? Why do they need this? Why are they suddenly raiding that planet? That all of that to me says like, well, Orson could be in play. And I think another part of it is I was always on the fence about like, well, is Orson Krennic going to show up? How would that affect
mm,
things if he and Cassian, crossed metaphorical swords? But like in some ways, I think Dead Ramiro was the big bad of season
mm,
one,
mm,
and she and Andor never crossed paths. So I think
yeah,
you could have that kind of storytelling where Andor is working against whatever Krennic is trying to get in an arc, and they
mm,
never meet, and they never
yeah.
know that they're the ones screwing one another over. But we, the audience, get to enjoy the emotional arc of it.
That's a big pitch. I love that idea. And what I think season one of Andor did so well, among many things, which we'll discuss here today, was this, going to the ground level, intimate look. You and I talked about on the podcast. You all can check it out in more detail. It was just released about an hour or so ago. Of hey, coming in, I had some high expectations for the story of rebellion in season one, and they dealt with it, but in a smaller level with different characters and characters I got to meet, and that set me up for what I think might be season two. That these arcs go year by year closer to Rogue One, where something like the Death Star that hangs over all of it, the Empire, Palpatine, Tarkin, all those characters. I'm not saying they're going to show up, but that we could move more into the direct battle of rebellion versus the Empire as we build towards the events of Scarif and Rogue One. So yeah, not even talking about character names, but someone like Krennic would fit. But just I think that fact that we might actually be moving towards that excites me
Yeah,
overall.
no, I'm right there with you, and I wouldn't call this a prediction. I'd call this a hope. I really hope Bale shows up. Jimmy Smits has been
Yeah.
down to get some Star Wars on,
Mhm.
and I think with that first season of Rebels kind of happening around a similar, maybe overlap time with
Yeah.
the first season of Andor, and knowing pretty directly that the cell that are Rebels, become they're a cell that becomes a part of this larger group
Yeah.
that is at least seems to be organized by Bale.
Yeah.
I'd love to know how that connects with Luthen, with Mothma, with everything.
Yeah, I love that, and when, we hear maybe some classic, legacy locations might show up, the Masasi Temple or whatnot on Yavin 4, that to me, you got Jan Dodonna, you got Sir Barristan Selmy himself, Ian, McElhenney, who can come and slide in that role and maybe finally say something more
Mm.
than, "So you've told us." Maybe we give, actual great seats. He's a great actor, and him, Bale, Mon Mothma, moving more towards that kind of stuff, the Senate on the run. We don't know, at some point, the story obviously, Tony Gilroy and his team are very aware of the Gorman issue and Mon Mothma and that speech that kind of takes her out of the Senate, puts her on the run. So if we deal with storytelling post that, pre Rogue One, which I believe obviously we will, I think you have a long list of rebel leaders that could show up.
Oh, that's very true. Draven.
Mm,
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite senator that I always talk about, who's dragging his feet and doesn't believe the Death Star is real, Noor Jabel. I
yeah,
want him alone in a room with Luthen. That's not going to go well for Noor Jabel.
that would be great. But you don't think there's a Death Star? I have no sun in my eyes, but let me tell you about the Death Star.
Noor Jabel. You don't think the Star is real? Yeah,
And
beautiful.
excited to see more Melshi. It is Duncan, what's his name? Duncan Powell, the actor.
Pow.
Powell, Melshi said, like, just talking about Buddhism with Tony Gilroy got him into the reshoots in a upped role. So, hey, what kind of conversations did you have with Gilroy on the set of Rogue One during the reshoots? You might be in Andor season 2.
Whoever chatted up Tony Gilroy the best. Yeah, that's pretty great. Uh,
So yeah, that's a list, and I saw as well. I do believe more saws on the way, and I think
mhm.
that'd be important too.
Yeah,
Mm,
no, absolutely, absolutely. I got another one here, Ken.
yes, sir.
This here is from Davin Smith, a great human Earth name and a great Star Wars name, I think.
Yeah.
Davin Smith says, was that Luthen's sunrise getting to see Marva's speech? That's very, very beautiful. I like that idea. I think for me, I think it was
Mm,
a shock for Luthen in a way, a validation in some ways.
mm,
I kind of interpret his speech that he gives to Lonnie to
mm,
be a little bit more that the sunrise is talking about the day the empire falls and
mm.
freedom is back and it's a new dawn.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the sunrise he's talking about, but I think he's seeing some glistening. I think he's seeing the sky changing colors.
Yeah.
We talk about this a little bit in our wrap up in our Andor report episode,
Mhm.
but I think in some ways Luthen is shocked to see that. I don't think he expects
Yeah.
that. I
Mm,
know he wants people to rebel. He did the Eldani thing so everybody would wake up to the oppression of
yeah.
the Empire. But I also think that there's something kind of fascinating about him. Sort of, he's really positioned himself as I control the rebellion. I move all the chess pieces. I made Aldani happen, and now I'll
Mhm.
move this
Mhm.
chess piece of Cassian off the board because he's a risk. And I think there's something to him about him that's kind of shocked to see exactly what Nemik said in his manifesto. This is everybody's rebellion. It's not just yours, Luthen. You don't have to be the chess master. It's
Mm.
everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, which I love a lot of the close-ups of the looks that Stella and the scoffs and sighs that Stellan has given us in this episode.
Yeah.
I think they can be read different ways. I think they can be interpreted. And also, I think Luthen himself has probably a lot of different emotions bubbling up where a little bit, I think, to Davin's question, there's maybe a spirit behind that of like,
Mhm.
all right, maybe there will be a sunrise. And then also what you and I have been talking today and what you just said right here, a little bit of loss of control for Luthen in the best of ways, that this is not just about you. And not that he was beating his chest like it's all me, but he was driving it forward, and that there could be some relief. Maybe there's some relief and belief that
Mhm.
sunsets are coming, whether he's there or not. I think there was some of that as well going on in his
Oh,
soul.
absolutely. I think there's something like that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's beautiful.
What
It is.
That's a sunrise. It's a sunrise. Everybody. I've
So look
turned
at that.
Luthen into like a dock working sailor, which is awesome.
Yeah. You see the clouds are turning colors a little bit. Not a sunrise yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Ah, Davin, great thought. Great thought.
Yeah, beautiful.
Luthen's such a he's a wonderful character, and so well written, so well performed. But I think you and I have both been really just intrigued by the questions that Luthen brings up,
Mhm.
and maybe some of the stuff with him and Saw. A lot of questions, not clear cut answers, and how you and I say, this show might be in a gray area, but it's not. It's not telling you that it's okay to stay in a gray area, and you got to make those choices. And that Luthen just continues to just represent just this dark underbelly under the light side, but who's light and it's kind of wonderfully challenging at times for me, at least for me.
I love it. I think it's one of the things about Andor that's so elegant for him to
Mm.
give that speech, which I think he wants to believe and he needs Lonnie to believe. But he goes from one episode to be like, "I've made my mind a sunless space. I have no emotion. I have shut it all off. I will kill anyone if necessary." And he's like, "I don't know, Saw. Do you think it's cool that we're doing this?"
Yeah, dude. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I know who doesn't get a say in this philosophical conversation of rebellion, Anton Krieger. So
Nope.
Luther might have to deal with that
Pour
emotionally.
one out for Anton Krieger. As you said, Ken, on our Andor report, the blinking red dot on the
Yeah.
screen.
Yes.
Anto Krieger.
People checking in here like Sean Ryder with the big question up top here. Also mentioning something we just talked about. The last question, also any chances we can see Krennic next season. But Sean's first question,
Mm.
first half of the question. Were you guys surprised Cassian's sister didn't come back up, or is the point to just let her go? I think this is wonderful because Joseph, it sounds like a cheat answer. Could be a little both, little column B. I believe every word Marva said in that moment. I don't think she's lying to Cassian. I think it's not unlike Maz to Ray of it's not behind you, it's in front of you. And that's a
Mhm.
generalized answer for your journey, but got to keep going forward, but learn from that past. And I think I think Cassian kind of needed that slap in the face, but doesn't necessarily mean that story's done. It doesn't necessarily make sense to me if it's not.
No, I mean, I think it's powerful and it worked well just for season 1 to have him begin his journey by looking for a connection and set off all these events because he cares so much about people, and this whole journey of the first season has been about him, making that care for the individuals in his life and transferring it over to a commitment, to the entire cause. So it makes sense to me that that's the starting place and the real inciting incident of the whole season, but it feels unresolved. Um
Mm-hmm.
it feels like Marva to me, I'm up in the air of like, is Marva trying to just be a realist for him of like, stop looking? Or is this a moment, was that a low moment for Marva where she was kind of hiding? Like,
Yeah.
stop looking for her because it's so dangerous. Was that a moment of weakness where
Mm.
Marva was saying, don't go looking for her,
Mhm.
Cass, because it's so dangerous for you? Just
That's a
enjoy what you have.
yeah.
And is it a moment where Cass I don't know. I feel like it will be
Yeah.
resolved one way. I feel like the more active and interesting way is for him to encounter her and find out what she believes.
Yeah.
Where does she imagine the joy of finding your long lost sister. She's had an entirely different experience. And she's like, oh, wow, you bought into it all hook, line, and sinker. You're a good
Oh,
little
man.
rebel boy now.
Yeah.
And the joy of finding your sister and him being like, "Oh, you're on that side of the ideological spectrum now? Ah," that could be really interesting.
It's
Having
like
to
a
let her go, having to choose between she wants him now to run away with her
yeah.
versus stay committed to the rebellion. I think there's lots of potential in her being there. But I also think, Ken, what you say is really interesting of what if it is just truly have to accept she's gone.
Yeah, which the thing for the show, I think a lot of things. I personally would like the thread to show up again in some way, whether his sister is there, whether his sister's Clea. I know a lot of people think that. I didn't go follow that theory too far, but I would love it. You said active choice. I think that's an great active choice for Cassian. But there's also something about this show, even though it ends on this, what I thought was a beat of hope, and I think you and I had that discussion today about
Mhm.
a lot of characters lived and we thought maybe they died, but the fact that this show also kind of is like, yeah, she's dead. Like, you didn't get to see it. It's off camera. Something bad happened with the Republican separatists. Marva knows about it. Cassian, you got to let it go. That also might track for the show. It's some of the beats along the way, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. But we haven't even really even off air taking that deep dive. The thought of Clea being his sister at all, is that intriguing at all? Whether you think it's the case or not, could you make a case for that in your mind?
Yeah, no, I could see that because I think Clea is right now, in my opinion, on the kind of other side of the idea from him of like she is so militant and any
Mm,
loss is fine, the everything for the greater good. So I
yeah,
think there could be some interesting conflict there.
yeah, could be. And Clay is such an interesting character too. Just yeah, there's when you're barking orders at Luthen, you're tough.
Yeah, no, and I'm kind of big on, she talks a big game, but I think in the second to last episode there when she's telling him,
Mm,
do not in code, do not go to Ferrix. You're only going to make things worse. I
yeah,
felt that was more about her fear of loss for
yeah,
him.
I agree with that. Agree with that. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Brian Ward wants the manifesto as an audiobook. I think that'd be a win.
Absolutely. A big giant audiobook. You got another question queued up, Ken, or should I grab one?
If you got one, grab it. While you're grabbing one, I'll toss in our buddy Ken Plume sending support and love for Forcecenter from Force Night Center. Team B2 Brasso. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. Between podcast and this, Ken, I finished second place twice. All right. So who knows what that means. Yeah. So if you got one, I'll
Yeah, I
take
got one right here.
love it.
Here we go from Heath Rezvak. Heath says, when do we think Marva recorded that hollow? In what mindset? What was going on there? I think that, we had the last time that we got to see her, she was refusing the doctor's visit, not breathing well, having fallen, right?
Mhm.
She had been poking at how to rebel. And I think it is after we saw her. I think
Yeah.
she knew she was on death's door, obviously. It wasn't one of those just in case messages we've seen in lots of
Mhm.
different storytelling. And it seems to be
Mhm.
a Ferrix tradition, if possible, to leave that
Yeah.
message. So I think it's after that. I think she knows that her time is coming to an end. And I think she has this sort of epiphany of like, this is how I can rebel.
Mhm.
I'm not strong enough. I couldn't find that sewer door to
Yeah.
find a way in to attack the hotel.
Yeah.
But ideas are rebellion, communication is rebellion, and this can be my final act. And I also feel like it's such a message to Cassian
Yeah.
to saying, "Hey, I understand. I did what you did too. We took comfort in the immediate people around us, which is
Mhm.
wonderful, but we
Yeah.
use that to not look up. We use that to not look at the big picture. I understand, Cassian. I did it too. Forgive yourself and
Yeah.
go get those bastards." Uh,
Go get them. Go through those
yeah.
tunnels. Go through those tunnels and get up into the hotel.
Mhm.
You have the cook Tennick, Lord Strong from House of the Dragon, actually giving him the help there too. I
Yeah.
agree, and I think that Marva speech.
Mm.
I agree. I agree with you too. Also, when it was recorded, and we're not all blessed to know the time, but it seems to be this tradition on Ferrix, and it was used to great effect here. I think that Marva speech is an all timer in Star Wars.
Absolutely. And I feel like she did have some coughs in some, like, moments
Yeah.
of physical weakness, which within that amazing emotional strength in that speech.
Yeah. Just and yeah. Having it not be directly to Cassian, but about Cassian, about everyone around him, and because he's not
Mhm.
even the great thing is he's not listening to it. He's in the middle of saving Bix and connecting and fighting and being part of it, and that works so well.
He has that great line though of "Wasn't she great?" So it made me feel like he
Yes,
heard part
yes.
of it, you
Oh,
know?
yeah, and it's well, yeah, it's going around and it's all around, but I like that he isn't hiding behind that he isn't hiding behind a rock and he's in action. He's
Yep.
taking action. He's doing it. I think that worked very well. All right. I got a couple ones here. First, a quick one. Neil Isaac, does anyone think Xan kind of look like comedian David Tell? I actually thought it was David Tell the first episode, but I figured he wouldn't be. Yes.
I like that could have been, Jon Favreau's contribution to Andor, like, "Hey, look, it looks like you're doing some really cool things over here, Tony, but the one thing you gotta do is, cast some middle-aged comedians. I really insist. That's what makes
Yeah.
it Star Wars, is middle-aged comedians. You gotta do it."
Go to the heart of the late 90s and early 2000s and bring in a performer there. Joel Ramirez has this comment here. Joel, thank you for the generous super chat there. Evening, gents. Happy holidays. Just want to support, but absolutely love this community and how you three, me and Jennifer as well, discuss Star Wars. Keep rocking on. Sorry for oversharing. I've been winding down with some Mary Jane. I didn't see that part. Last dance with Mary Jane. Hey, love that. Thank you.
That is very, very kind. Thank you and enjoy.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. All right, sliding up to this is just a comment more than a question, but going back to what we're talking about, who's showing up and next season, everything. Social Tortoise has this one. I would love to see Bodhi back. I would love to see Riz Ahmed back. And again, it could be a situation where he's not connecting with Cassian. He's not around them, but he's a part of something else. And he is just that. He is just that delivery guy doing his job for the Empire. Almost to what Marva's saying of, we took their money, we kept their systems going, they left, we forgot. Bodhi represents so much of that, and him trying to make it right, him getting that word, the mission from Galen, but also just the advice from Galen of, hey, you probably want to make this right. Bodhi's a powerful character. I would love to find a way to get Riz Ahmed back.
Yeah, no, I think that might be, really interesting depending on how it's constructed, especially that last arc of, like, I feel like if they're building right up to the beginning of Rogue One, they want to wrap up the Andor show, but also lead us into Rogue One, and that might be a really interesting thing to do.
Yeah.
I know there are little bits of the conversation with Galen and Bodhi in the comic book adaptation of Rogue One, but I would still love to see a lot more of the Driving Miss Daisy, the flying Mr. Urso,
Yeah.
where Bodhi and him are spending some time together.
Yeah. That'd be, yeah. There's nothing about season 1 of Andor that makes me think this is what season 2 would be about filling in all the little connections and blanks. But I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I mean, you could bring Mads back. You could have the conversation with Galen and Bodhi. You could do, you could cast a live action Magna Tolvin at the Edu stage. You could do that. There's no indication that this would be what they would do, but it just gets me excited for those kind of possibilities.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
All right, good stuff. You guys are having fun hanging out with us live. We appreciate that. We just scrolling through, but Joseph, you got something? Let me know here. But you have control of the board too, as well. That's
all right. I will smash the show button.
It's a game show.
Ding 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 ding.
Joseph's got control of the board.
Ding, time grappler banging on that metal. This comes to us from Chris King. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Thank you. Very thankful for Forcecenter. The line, "Tell him I love him more than any wrong he could do," made me tear up. What are some of your favorite emotional lines from recent Star Wars? Well, I'll start, Chris, by just agreeing with you. That was so real. It was so human. I think Marva had a message for Cassian in that speech, but then she had a direct message passed through Brazo, and it showed such great understanding of her son,
Mm.
of knowing how much he would beat himself up. I've said on the podcast a lot, the lines that really get me are when uh, one person gives the other person exactly what they need, because I think it's just
Mm.
very real. And I think we all know that when sometimes there's a part of us that's aching and raw, and somebody just comes along with the words that the exact balm that you need.
Mm.
And that line was one of them.
Mm. Mm.
I'll throw one more out and then pitch it to you, Ken. Another line like that for me was in Kenobi, when gruff old middle aged Owen Lars says to Kenobi, "You want to meet him?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And Obi-Wan, so after connecting with Leia and finding so much strength and hope in Leia to move Luke from an idea, from a goal that he watches from afar,
Mm.
to a human he can interact with. And the way Luke looks up at Obi-Wan, like, oh, here's this adventurous, interesting, person that you want to meet him, was a real emotional line for me, leading in, and the discussion becomes all about the hello there, but just the "you want to meet him"
Yeah.
was an emotional line for me.
Oh, great answer there. Yeah, I know this line really affected you, and I think it's a great line. Absolutely, the Brazo message from Marva was really solid stuff. For me, in terms of just there's a lot of cool stuff in Andor that rushes to mind, but I'll jump back to Kenobi. There's a reason I put a little video essay out there on the channel about lessons from Little Leia. I just was particularly moved by her little Leia coming to the end of her little arc in this series, and accepting not just her role, but what she can do with it, and accepting her adoptive parents as her parents and her family. A lot of powerful stuff there. And that all right, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do things differently. Maybe paraphrasing that, but Bale leaning down and saying, well, then we change things together. I think that line hit me in real life. It hit me in the real world. And as we see massive amounts of change continue to happen in the world, some on large scales, some on smaller scales in our own lives, our family lives, everything. The older generation who did things right. Bale's done things right for the most part, right? I'm sure he's not a perfect human, but he's done things right. He's been in the fight. He's in the right fight. But to look at the next generation and go, all right, great. Then we'll change things together, because that's what you want to do. You're going to be in the seat. Come along. I'll come along with you, and let's find a way. And he's not rejecting her. He's not. Nope. That's not what we do. Oh, you'll learn. Tap. You'll learn, little girl. We'll do it. He just goes, okay, great. We'll do it together. I was just blown away by what that meant for me in my own life, and what could mean in the world if people listen. So that's why I love that moment so much.
Yeah, really, really powerful. This is a weird one because it is kind of jokey, but I could keep thinking about in the previous episode when B2 Emo is so devastated and doesn't want to be alone. There's a great, I don't want to be alone. I want Marva. That's devastating. But when he's kind of playing Brasso, when Brasso comes over and he's like, well, we got to go. I got to work in the morning. And B2 Emo says, I'm charging.
Yeah.
And Brasso says, you've been charging all day. And then when B2 Emo gets what he wants, and he rolls out of his little charging bed, no problem. It's so real. It's so human. It's a little bit comedic. It's a little bit of whimsical, but it is also about it's about emotional connection and what that poor little droid needs. And he's manipulating big old Brazo.
Yeah. I don't know if they count as emotional lines, but pretty much anything Partagaz said to his subordinates was oddly emotional and funny to me. Thesis, please. It's not a conversation, not a dialogue.
It's not a dialogue, Dedra. Yeah.
Anton Lesser. Oh, man, you're the best.
Absolutely great stuff.
Yeah, love it. Just sliding along here. Again, super chats aren't necessary to get in the conversation, but I do see the bright colors easier. But we're pulling some questions all around here as I scroll through. You guys out there have many conversations going, many comments. We love it. We appreciate you all being part of the community here. Joel Ramirez checking back in. Absolutely favorite moments. Climb, both Nemik and Kino. Try. Would you got another question about Try we should address here? And Marva's speech. I'm so happy we have this at Andor created those beautiful moments in our universe. So again, less of a question, more of a statement. The climb moment, a lot of people love that one too, Joseph. The connections to K2SO. There's been a couple of those kind of moments. Some, I think, very overt and intentional. The sunrise, the beach, Cassian looking out. You know, tell Marva she'd be proud of me. Your father would be proud of you. And I think absolutely those connect. And even ones like Climb, I could totally, I believe it could be intentional, but it works spiritually. They've laid down this nice tracing paper over the Andor and Rogue One stories, and it works.
Yeah, no, I think it's just visceral and real. Obviously, there are those connections, and those instructions are all literal. In the context of the show, not metaphorical. But I think, with Nemik's great manifesto that we got to hear a little bit of, like, there's the parts that we're seeing Bix while he's talking, and I'm paraphrasing about, like, the enemy is so huge and so powerful, and we feel so small. How could we possibly respond to that? How could we possibly push up against that? And I feel like just that spirit of climb is the contrast to that, of like, look, you might not make it, but why not climb? Better to climb, better to fight.
Better fight, better to try. Which, Joseph, I'm going to sneak this question in here right above this one. And we didn't necessarily go into the podcast on it this week. We might in the future. I've seen this on Twitter. I even think I've seen it on Hive. This question still Bill's asking it. The line in the manifesto about try, which is like the final word in the manifesto, or at least the part we hear. Question: how does this fit thematically with Yoda's perspective that there is no try? And do or do not, there's no try. We've even discussed previously here. What that might mean. So how did you take that try as compared to or in conjunction with Yoda's version?
Yeah, I feel like Yoda's instruction to Luke, the way I receive it, is that it is not an absolute. It is a specific, helpful guidance for a specific moment, which is Luke has decided before he even tries that he can't. So if Luke thinks about it as trying, Luke will fail. So Luke needs to throw away try, and either you can do this or you can't, with Yoda knowing the truth of, like, you have to believe in yourself. And I feel that from experiences I've had, particularly as a performer, where it's like, you're on a stage, there are people there, it's do or don't. And if you get in your head and say, I'll try to remember my lines, I'm literally doing, stage combat. I'll try not to hit you in the head with my sword. You can't be in that space. You have to be poised, confident. There is no try. I know what I'm doing, and I believe in myself, and I can do it correctly when I have that sense in me. I think that's very specific what Yoda's talking about. I don't think he's talking about, like, Yoda tries for his entire life to keep the balance of the Force, to make the right decision. I don't think he's saying you can never try. You always have to be so cocky as to know you are absolutely correct. You have to recognize those moments where you are holding yourself back. You're giving into fear by making it about try. I've just been rewatching season 1 of Rebels, and there's an episode where it's basically an episode of Kanan giving that advice to Ezra getting annoyed and going, what does that mean? And Kanan going, I don't know, Yoda used to say it. And it really wrestles with a little bit of what it means. And I like that episode a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the relationship between Andor and Rebels, you had brought it up in an episode because you just finished your season 1 rewatch of Rebels, right? Or you're in the parallels are wonderful stuff. Yeah, and Heath Resbeck's got some live comments about this I think are great, and I'll give my thoughts on it too here, which aren't going to be as beautiful as your well said statement there, sir. But climb is the answer to the try conundrum. Climb is do plus try. He also quotes Jyn, take the next chance. We'll take the next chance and the next until the chances are spent. That kind of attitude. I think you're right. I always go to the moment that it is, because it's easy to put do or do not. There is no try on a bumper sticker, on a wood panel on your office door, right? It's weird to think a lot of Yoda advice became office posters. They get the cat hanging, and you had Yoda. You've seen a lot of that out in the office world. But it's just, it's Luke not lifting the X-wing, and try to me is letting fear, you mentioned it, letting failure take over. Yoda's not afraid to fail, and I think that do or do not kind of, to me, has always embraced a little bit of the idea of you also might fail.
Mm-hmm.
So what? Do or do not. Fail, succeed. That's not what this is all about. You just got to get on and do it. And you've said so well. Like Luke's already like, well, shucks. And I get it because I'm a well shucks kind of guy too sometimes.
But I think you made it. Yeah, you made a really good point there, because if Luke believes himself and gives it all and it doesn't happen, now it's a lesson. Well, why didn't it work this time?
Yeah. And we all can do that. Yeah. So anyways, great question. Great thought. Because I've already seen a lot of it out there. I haven't rebuzzed anything on Hive about it already. I don't or pollinated. I don't know.
Swarm or stung or
By the way, we are on Hive, both Joseph and I and Jennifer, and Forcecenter, just at Forcecenter. Drop the pod for Hive.
Yeah. Should I smash the show button?
Smash the show button.
Dong. Rob Mack asks, not sure on timeline, but is Jyn still hanging around Saw at this point, or is she on her own? Is Amaranth Payon says, I think she's on her own now. I agree with that. And I think I've seen some fun discussion. Somehow in our 2+ hour recaps discussions, we're not getting time to even get to all the nuances. But if the timeline works out that it's relatively fresh, that Saw decided this is better for her if I abandon her. If she keeps hanging around me, people will discover who she is. It'll become a threat to her. She's competent. She's got a blaster and a knife. What else does she need? That's a really interesting place for Saw to be in when he is having all these conversations about what are you willing to sacrifice for the greater cause, for the war.
Let's call it war. I've seen this on Twitter. Well, I'll tell you what, let's call Pablo Hidalgo right now. I don't have his number.
We'll hive him.
Timeline wise, we're 5 years before Rogue One, which we
start 5 years, and then months and months happen in Andor.
Right.
So
I forget that's how Showtime works, where you don't just sit there for a day. It's not a day. It's not a
Cassian's
day.
bad day. That's what season 1 is. A really long, really bad day.
Yeah. Jon Snow and Davos sailed for months to get to Dany. Yes, so I think it could leap that. I think from the beginning of the season 1 to the end of it, that right around the time, but she's about 21, 22 in Rogue One, timeline wise, story wise, right?
I don't remember off the top of my head her exact age.
Yeah, you and I aren't competing for trivia belts. We don't even remember all that stuff anymore. But it's about that. So it syncs up. And it's very interesting to me to know, excuse me, to know that all this is happening and Jyn is out there on her own right now. That's I love kind of just imagining the stories going on right now. You and I both love Beth Revis's Rebel Rising. It's an amazing book. Love it in terms of Jyn, love it in terms of Saw, love the Infant's Nest appearance, love all of it there. I think it's about the same time, but I love what you're saying too. Go to your point. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit here, but Saw's in a weird spot, and then Saw, I think there's some he's been on his own for so long, and then his paranoia is growing. And though I think he's definitely protective of Jyn, this idea of like, you're daughter of an Imperial Science officer, like his paranoia is growing. He can't have that around.
Yeah.
Hey, especially if maybe there's a little timeline fudging, or maybe it's a little after. He's got Luthen around, and Tubes is his guy. Tubes is his man. I can't trust anybody. Maybe it's all rolled into one there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think those are all great thoughts. And I want to do a Twitter thread or a Hive dump, because you can type as much as you want. I'm not going to call it that. I'm ashamed. But I think that there might be like some Andor hunger for people who haven't who are loving Andor and maybe haven't dove into some of the things like Rebel Rising, that like it's not on screen, but in book form it's a little bit more that grounded, brutal, real stakes. The Alphabet Squadron trilogy is like that. I think if people give Solo a rewatch and really try to look at it from the like, this is about the Empire and criminal organizations taking all of the resources, and individual people cannot have any personal freedom. If you absorb Solo from that perspective, I'll be interested to see what other kind of what other parts of Star Wars storytelling Andor might be a door into for fans.
I love door into storytelling right there. Highway Johnny Rebel Rising is so dang good. Highway Johnny, or Highway Johnnyman as I call him. It's good as well here. All right. That was a great one there. I love when we get thinking about deep things here. And I don't know what this is referring to, but he said Dex had a diner. So hey, Dex could show up. That's all I want. Where's Brian Ward? We'll get that. I have this one here from Joel Ramirez again. Thank you, Joel. Hanging out with us here today. What if the Acolyte knows who the current Sith Lords are and Secrets on the Corrupt Republic government amidst trying to expose the info, get killed, expecting a mind bender from Leslie Head and thoughts. All right, so this is we can talk a little bit Acolyte here. We'll be back to Andor. I'll be honest, I have not thought too much about Acolyte, even after the cast announcements, in the best way possible, because I'm so excited to see what Leslie Headland does with this. I haven't thought too much about specific Sith Lords. I think you and I are of the belief that doesn't necessarily mean Sith Lords are involved in that series. Could be. Could very well could be. Could be Adventures of Middle-Aged Sheev. I don't think so. I don't think that's what Leslie's going to go for. Just dark side powers emerging. So yeah, I haven't thought about it too much there.
Yeah, I mean, can you throw that back up on the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that there is the possibility of, whoever the current Sith Lord is at that time. I know it might be some things specified in Legends, and you could maybe look at the timeline and hope for a Darth Tenebrous. Maybe not. I can't remember from the Darth Plagueis novel. I think there's an interesting possibility of a Sith Lord lurking in the corners of it. Yeah. I think because it's called the Acolyte, and because it's a look at the dark side in the advertisements, or the discussion so far, I kind of feel like it's more toward this idea that the dark side is a part of reality, in the Sith, because they're controlling, are like, we are in charge of the dark side. We're in charge of the big picture plan for the dark side to win the day. But that doesn't mean there aren't people like the Night Sisters who dabble in its power. There aren't people who... I'm kind of almost hoping that the Acolyte is somebody who's like, I have heard these rumors that these alleged Sith Lords still exist, and I want to find one. And that's their journey. Maybe it is a Sith apprentice training somebody on the side. I think there's so many possibilities. And for me, what I care about less is, does a Sith Lord show up, and more about what is the character going through that they need the dark side, that they think the dark side is the answer. Leslie Headland is, and all of her writing that I've ever seen, deals with complex, interesting ideas, but still keeps a sense of fun.
Yes.
So merging that with the dark side, could it almost be this like great, like, this is, the way we laugh at Din because he's never watched Star Wars and he doesn't know anything about Jedi. He doesn't know Mandalorian rules. What's a Boba Fett? Everything. It might be kind of interesting to see somebody who's, powerful in the Force, naturally damaged, wants something out of the Sith, the dark side, but doesn't understand them, doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah. It's easy to be sold lies at that point.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm choking on rum.
The creamy rum gets you every time.
Trying to hang with you. Sorry. Yeah. Anyways, Joel, we'll find out when the Acolyte drops on Disney Apple TV Plus.
Disney Apple TV Plus. Whoever owns whatever at any time. Yep. I am scrolling, looking for some other. Yes. I'm looking for the button to smash.
Smash that button.
Okay, we talked about this a little bit on the Andor report, but I think it'd be great to talk about it live on the internet. Smash. GJ Gujiman. I'm thinking B2 Emo will be transported into K2SO in order to avoid him being caught, detected, and it transforms his personality a bit due to a faulty transfer. This is a popular theory, or is it a desire? Is it that we do not want to let go of B2 Emo? I know I wanted to teleport into the reality of the fiction and punch the person who pushed B2 Emo over. I tried to resist violent impulses, but one was triggered when that happened. Ken, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we discussed it today, and I don't want to step on it, contradict anything I said on the podcast today. I get it as a theory. I think I love these two droids. I personally would like to see them remain separate. I think there's some crossover personality a little bit, but doesn't fully track. But then again, if you're jamming my brain into another body, maybe there's something different going on there too. Maybe you pick up what's going on. We definitely saw the meeting of them in the comic book, that one shot. I don't know if they're going to hold to that. We'll see. I know they've been some of the canon comic book kind of stuff lately, to much dismay. So we'll see. But I don't think a lot of people remember that Cassian K2 comic a few years ago. But I just envision B2 going on to a nice life. He's one of those characters that you and I always talk about is behind a tree on Endor. We just didn't see him. He goes on to join the Rebel Alliance, becomes a good serviceable droid for the Pathfinders.
Yeah, you know what? This is awful. I was gonna say, you know what I want, and then I was like, do I want that? In my mind, in my head canon, happy to be wrong. This was an emotional victory for Andor, and many of our characters from Ferrix survived. I think the Empire is going to bring the hammer down on Ferrix, and I think Ferrix is. I think there's a story to be told where Ferrix is freed after the end of the Galactic Civil War.
Yeah,
and at that time, when their traditions are reignited, I want B2 Emo to be bricked. Yeah, just to honor him. Yep, a red
brick,
red brick in the wall. But I do think there is some possibility. I do see the overlap in B2 Emo in K2SO in that they're both very blunt. Mm-hmm. They say what they mean, and that they have this fierce loyalty to Cassian. On the podcast I was talking about, they both remind me of like dogs who absolutely love their human. K2SO being like a big scary dog, and B2 Emo being like just a cuddly chihuahua or poodle. So I could see a story where it isn't like I have transported B2 Emo into K2SO and they are the same, which isn't what GJ is saying. But I can maybe see a like, I need to reprogram this Imperial security droid, and I need this droid to have a bunch of information that B2 Emo has.
Yeah.
And he gets not just the information packets, but a little bit of the personality packets. I can see something in kind of a gray area there.
Yeah, I like that there. Brian Ward suggesting this. He also uploads the Manifesto into K2. So it's a mix of B2 and Nemik.
I want that because I want a bunch of scenes where like Cassian is on an important mission and he turns around and like, Kay, what are you doing? And Kay's like, I'm building a model. Like Nemik.
We'll see. Yeah, and if it does happen, if that does play out that exactly like that, the B2 becomes K2 or is mixed in some way, and K2's first words are Cassian, but it's in Alan Tudyk's voice, then tears will flow. So David Chapman did such a good job. He was so good as B2 Emo.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely great.
Love that there. I got a question here from Rob Mack again, Joseph, that I know we discussed a lot on the podcast, but maybe we should put it up live here. Was that scene with Mothma's family, her having to sacrifice the rebellion in a previous episode? Isn't she upset her daughter wants to keep Chandrilan traditions? So old brother Stannis comes in, Richard Delane, Stephen's brother, comes in, Davos scumbag, Skolden, and his son. What's his son, Steeken? Steeken, right?
Stefanic, I think.
Yeah.
It's something that sounds like space for stinky.
And his wife's like Rouge.
Rune. Yeah. Oh boy, I'm trying to pull them up here. I'll find those names.
How Scolded is here. It's the only real moment we spend with Mothma, other than the throwing Perrin under the bus scene, which was great and
phenomenal.
Caloris as well. Love that scene. But yeah, so in general, I mean, the idea that behind it, Rob Beck, that we kind of come down on, and Joseph can go into more depth here, is this idea of prior to this, or prior to the revelation of Lita's, I don't even want to say fascination, but where she is with the traditions, and where her and her friends on Coruscant are taking comfort in these traditions. Whether or not Mothma and Vel agree with them or not, that is their choice right now to do it. And maybe Mothma could have that conversation about, hey, you're going down the wrong path, but I don't think Lita's going to take that advice. And Mothma's gut reaction, the correct reaction to Skolden, is no, I'm not going to further this rebellion at the cost of not just my soul, but my daughter. But when it's framed as this is something she might want to do, it's her choice, preserves her agency. that it's Joseph a different ball game for Mothma at that point.
Yeah, and the possible suitor for Lita is Stecken Skalden.
Lita and Stecken. There you go. What a team. Check out their registry on Coruscant level 12, 13 now.
Yep. I'm already to pound back some squig drinks at their upsetting reception. Yeah, no, I think for me, it so much of the show has been about what are you willing to sacrifice for the greater good, and if you're fighting for freedom, which is to give people's agency back, what right do you have to take people's agency away? And I think that's part of what Luthen's going on about in that speech is he's pumping himself up and saying, like, I'm damned. I have to do it. I have to use the enemy's tools, and I'll if there's an afterlife, I'll pay for it, and I'll never see a glorious day. And I think Mothma, we know, ultimately tries to lead the alliance with more allegiance of let's fight, but let's not lose our souls. So if those are the stakes, I think her initial response is, no, you absolutely not. My daughter is not up for this. I'm not going to sell my soul in that way. But then we have this next episode, and I feel like the point of including Mon and Vel's shock that Lita and all of her friends have chosen to invest in these traditions is to make it a true gray area for Mothma. I feel like at the end of this episode, when she is agreeing to it, I think Mothma's in hell. I think she is saying, I don't know if this is the right choice, but I need a way out. I got part of it by getting ISB to believe my husband's a horrible gambler. But I still need to be able to move money around freely. And the only way to do it is this guy's the only option to move that around. And so for the greater good, I will agree to something that my daughter seems to be choosing that I don't agree with. And I think for me, it is morally ambiguous. And I think, in my opinion, it's meant to be a bit of a moral gray area of, I know parents face this. I know I'm not a parent, but I've faced this with other people in my life, humans, I have lots of human friends, family members, friends, where like somebody will tell us something and the 6 other people in the friend group are like, we all think that's a bad decision, but it's your life in your agency. And maybe we'll make even an argument going, are you sure you want to do that? But unless it's like literally criminal or violent, you chose that and we'll be here for you when it doesn't work. Or if it doesn't work, that's a really hard thing. It's a really hard thing, I think, for all of us to decide of when do we let people make a choice that we don't think is necessarily right. And I think Mothma would be in that choice if she also didn't need a criminal money broker. But that even makes it more complicated. So I think it's meant to be complicated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's the most important thing. And then to these wonderful questions and comments coming in about this scene, we got some coming in here. Social Tortoise is checking in as well about it. I think it's meant to be complicated with no clear-cut answer. And as far as your real-life comparison, have you ever been to a wedding where you're like, I don't know about this one? You're right, but I'm here and they're doing this, and who am I to say that it ends one way? Who am I to say that they can't try? That's not the way to look at it. So and it's on one level, I'm like, it's kind of this weird, Mothma stumbles into a cheat, but it's a needed one for the good of the galaxy. But that's even a very general statement for me that I think is 100% true. But at the end of the day, you and I both agree this story isn't necessarily dumb. Her path forward as a rebel leader is still out in front of her, and this is just one of many complicated choices she has to make. What I love is that her gut reaction was right, and for her, no, absolutely, get the bleep out, get the scob out. I'm not doing this because I'm not for it. It was not something in my life. But then, daughter, as long as Lita's not taking other people's rights away and hurting, like you said, what can Mothma do? And there we have it, this complicated gray area. But the show, Star Wars, doesn't want you to stay in that gray area. You got to move forward and eventually make choices.
Yeah. I'd love to just share Social Tortoise's 2 comments because I think they have a great perspective here. So I'm gonna smash that show button. What I think is heartbreaking about Mon's daughter Lita going after the old ways is that she is inadvertently rejecting the future Mon is fighting for. Mon cares for the whole galaxy, but she would especially want to create a just society so that her daughter would have a better life. Yet Lita chooses at this point to align with fundamentalism. I think that's spot on, and I think it's such a great part of just the like Vel and Mon being like, why do they want to do the old ways? It's like, well, because you uprooted them from Chandrila, you brought them to this strange world of Coruscant that is like, this is how they rebel, to go back to the old ways. You know, it's almost like this is how do you rebel is, sometimes like, well, you get to a generation where like, we can't go faster or louder, so we're going to rebel by going real quiet.
It's the hippies give way to the yuppies, right? Like, that kind of stuff does happen.
It's just kind of a joke for me. I remember growing up with like, heavy metal and hip hop, elements of both heavy metal and hip hop being like, this is as fast and loud and as aggressive as you can go. And like, what is the next generation going to do? Like, they're Billie Eilish. They're going to go a little quieter. Cool. Great.
Yeah, they're going to go a different direction. And it's important. It's important to, realize this isn't necessarily for you. This music isn't for you. It's for someone else. And you've got to, as Bale would say, well, we'll listen to this music together.
Yeah. And I'm really, really interested to see how much this exact story is followed up on, or if we just, jump to the family's gone, the family's lost.
Yeah. Some people, I think I just saw something about that. Yeah, in our comments. Oh, I missed it. Yeah,
some great stuff.
Yeah, the Mothma stuff is also just again. When this show was announced, so excited. Mothma, Genevieve O'Reilly back, this wonderful character. This I've always mentioned that Return of the Jedi novelization description of Mothma, which covers a lot of stuff that Rebels has talked about that was going to be at play in the story. And they attacked it in a very different way. And I think some of the stuff I wanted to get in the Mothma story may still come in season 2. More of her in charge or working with the alliance that she's creating. But this was wonderful to go intimate, to go small. I think was very needed and just downright cool and fun to watch because it was fun to root against Perrin.
I love that Perrin scene is so great, and her knowing Cloris is listening, and I'm going to use that to my advantage.
Porter says Mon setting Perrin up was a great move and such a satisfying payoff for after a season of his crap.
And we talked about this again on the podcast, but I really believe that at that particular Coruscant party, he was not gambling. I believe, there's that line with Davo scumbag of like, I know your husband quite well. And at the time, I was like, I know he's getting up to something Mon doesn't agree with, but what? And now it sounds like he's probably gambling through Davo. I love that he's done it so many times that it's kind of believable.
Yeah,
but I don't think he's gambling at all, and it's great to watch him squirm. Like, what?
Squirm like a squiggly in a biggie dinner.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you guys in the live chat are having a lot of fun. Play safe, play cool. Tyler says this one here. So what do these things do for the Death Star? And he also says, kind of like the trim. It's not a trim. The beard's growing back. I just had to shave it. So I feel very naked right now. Joseph, to this one here. All right, we can get it a little bit to the end, the post-credit scene that I thought Cassian and Brazo were going to be having shawarma or something on a ship. But no, something a little bit more important, something a little more powerful. We talked about the meaning of it earlier. But the reveal, that a lot of people kind of thought this was not a surprise that what they were building in the prism on their Kino 5 would factor into the Death Star. I was affected of it in a way of just like really bummed that Cassian, so glad he's in the fight, but really bummed that he was building something that was going to kill him. That's the way it ends up. So heavy meaning there, but what do they do for the Death Star? And you can throw in any deep themes if you want to as well. But also, what do they do?
Well, I mean, I think that the deep theme is that he is building what will end him, but he is also ending it in the process. Nemik's great manifesto about like every little thing. It feels like it maybe might not matter, but it does. And all these little contributions we're watching are marching toward the destruction of that awful thing of the Death Star. But just being sort of like nerdy and guessing, like I love that it seemed to be locking the sort of like some sort of solar panel looking things for real world stuff But I felt for me that's like some sort of like, well, that's what the beam, the tortured kyber crystals get agitated, and like that's what the actually processes the beams, the raw energy into focused beams. Like I'm just pulling that out of, I got nothing. I got no Wikipedia.
No,
I got no inside track. That's just the way it felt to me. Like it was directly those panels that were being locked together by those devices from the prison were directly related to the beam of death.
To the beam of death. Yeah. We'll wait for. I'm sure Pablo's been pitching a visual dictionary or encyclopedia for this one here. I think it's just simply that they hold that all together. Everything you describe in this beam of death, that those pieces hold it together, and how horrible it is that those prisoners were building this thing that would one day attempt to hold the galaxy together in fear. So poetic, but also oddly, really just functional, right? It's like those, not the Lincoln Logs, but those with the little pinwheels, and then you put the sticks in as a kid, and you built like a little hexagon thing. I just reminded me of that. And so the fact that it's just so mundane yet important to this oppression, this machine of oppression, is part of the tragedy too.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So a lot of good stuff coming in here. Spoken like an engineer, Joseph. There you go.
I am not an engineer. No.
Love that. All right. Anything else out there jumping to you here, Joseph?
Well, we got this lovely super chat here. I'm gonna smash the show button.
Smash.
From Pablo. Oh, with a great, a great image there. Nemik's manifesto is filled with gold. Ferrix, Lothal, Ryloth, etc. Everyone is already a part of the rebellion, and they don't even know it yet. Yeah. I think Nemik's manifesto was so beautiful, so well done. I'm so glad that they came back to it. I think it's so telling of Cassian that he knows he's on this precipice. I think him saying on the call to Zan that tell Marva she'd be proud. He knows that he stepped up in the prison, right?
Yeah.
He didn't just get himself out. He got everybody out,
Yeah.
And that he gets it a little bit more. Like, and also just like, I thought I could go somewhere warm and easy. And what everybody's been telling me, there's that warm and easy don't exist anymore with the Empire, that he learned that. So to see him being like, I know I need to make things right here on Ferrix to the best of my ability. I'm pumping myself up by listening to Nemik's manifesto. That alone was, Cassian, listen to that podcast.
It's like when I put on Lady Gaga and I head to the gym. All right. Pumped up.
Yeah, but I really like this perspective from Pablo, because there are fires all around the galaxy, right? People are there are cells like our rebels that we meet in Rebels who, some of them don't even really realize there's a larger alliance. It seems to be, at the beginning, it's like Hera is contacting Fulcrum, and it's like even keeping Sabine like arm's length away. And we know Ryloth, you never mess with Ryloth without Ryloth messing back. And how many other stories are there to tell? And the other thing I like about it is, no one of these stories are the story that immediately brought the Empire to its knees. But it's it's the fulfillment of Leia's line in the very first film about, the tighter you squeeze, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. It's that idea of the more you try to control people and take their agency away, the more they're going to notice and they're going to push back.
Yeah. And I loved just kind of drifting off into that, imagining all the other stories, those we know, Lothal, Ryloth are some of the bigger ones, and those that we have yet to discover. Even the ones that start really early. We'll see Bad Batch season 2. I'm sure we'll learn more of that kind of stuff. And that in every little village and every little planet and every little factory, every little industry that this stuff is building and brewing. And that is the true story of rebellion. I think coming into this season, I was looking forward to, a lot of these cells, they don't know each other. They fight, and there's philosophical differences, and all that was at play. But at the end of the day, what Nemik was saying was a lot about what the heart of the show was about. You and I talking about Brazos, Clem Andor's speech in this episode being a lot of the heart and soul of this entire series. Those big themes, and I think this one worked for me as well. I just, again, don't want to say a lot of fun, but in a Star Wars fan fun kind of way. Just Nemik's right. There's stories of rebellion we haven't even heard yet, and because this galaxy is so wonderfully big. So yeah, it made a lot of sense, and I loved it. And I too would love to hear it on a podcast version.
Yeah, no, absolutely great stuff. You got another one?
Yeah, going back up to the top here. David H says, first of all, if Disney sells Nemik's Manifesto, a device, would you buy one? So I think you and I both would say yes. So second, which is your favorite character from this season, and what scene sold them as your favorite? Cheers. Cheers. Okay. Yeah. Favorite character from this season. So to me, the spirit of that question too, well, Joseph, I think if Cassian's your favorite, Cassian's your favorite. So I don't want, you know what? I'm going to let go. I'm not going to let you have your agency here. I'm not going to do what Mothma, might have done wrong. So there you go. What's your answer there?
I mean, I think all the characters are compelling. I love Cassian, but I think because of the nature of the story, that he was somebody who absolutely loved the people close to him, but kept resisting getting involved. There's lots of episodes where he makes choices, or he makes small choices, but he doesn't make the big choices. I loved Cassian in this episode because he's like, I'm in. I think so. I'm looking forward to this second season where I hope that he's committed and he's got a lot of agency in each individual episode. He's deciding, is this over each individual arc? Is this over the line? Is this over the line? So Diego Luna knocked it out of the park. But as a character, I'm looking forward to even juicier Andor times. I think for me, it's got to be Mothma. Honestly, I think that it's a character I've been fascinated with since I was a kid. I feel like we talked about it somewhere, I don't remember where, before the show started, about that choice that Carolyn Blackistone makes of the way she delivers. Maybe she was directed, maybe it was both. Many Bothans died to bring us this information. That line didn't need to be there, and Mothma, Carolyn Blackistone, didn't have to go that hard.
Yeah,
but she did, and it spoke volumes, right? Of like, everyone out here is making all of these sacrifices constantly along the path, and as we move forward, let's not forget the people who just made the choice to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And there's some interviews with Genevieve O'Reilly where she says she watches Mothma's scenes again and again. And I felt the heart of that line in all of Genevieve O'Reilly's performances of like, there's no doubt that this fight must be fought. The question is how, what sacrifices are worth it? So I think for me, I enjoyed her constantly, every scene, but the great scene, I can't remember which episode it is in. I think it's in Announcement. Where she at the dinner party, she makes the contact with Tay Kolma. And Tay, who ends up being pretty cool, has that sort of dismissive, like, I don't know, my politics might be a little too spicy for you. And Mothma shows the utter pain of how trapped she is in that world, how trapped she is in the mask of good politician Mothma, who just causes a little trouble, a little annoyance when she's doing something else different. There's there's pain and there's a dragon of like, because earlier in the episode, she is sort of pushed by Luthen of, maybe you're not that committed, right?
Yeah.
And that whole scene is just fire. And it's the one that ends with smile. In that power of like, that's what I have to do every day. Is that spicy enough for you, Tay? That's the scene that is like the MVP for me.
It's so good. Genevieve O'Reilly, look, everyone just brought it in the series, and a lot of powerful performances, and a lot of people praising those performances. Stellan Skarsgård, Andy Serkis, all that stuff. But Genevieve O'Reilly doing so much with a clench of a jaw or eyes watering. Just an amazing performance. So I'm right there with you on that. Some of the other ones that jump out to me, tossing aside maybe some of the bigger ones that are maybe obvious, or B2 emo, which could be the answer for everyone. Time Grappler, you and I could just do 2 hours on Time Grappler. Love Brazo. I thought he was that hug you and I talked about even off air, just that hug with Cassian, the powerful connection there. But two characters, I do have to say, Andy Serkis's Kino Loy was one of my favorites. It really affected me. Their story. Look, I hope in season 2, episode 4, they go, Cassian, your new commanding officer's over there, check with him, and you turn around and Kino Loy's like, I'm Sergeant Loy. Could you imagine? That'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah, we all have a good time. Share a beer, a space beer, and talk about old times. I don't think that's the case. I don't even think we'll see Kino Loy again. And if that is the case, what a powerful 3-arc song in this album that is Andor, and in this this career, this musical career of Star Wars, if you know what I mean. Like, just what a perfect, sad, inspirational, bittersweet, strong story of this character. I was really, really moved by that one. That one got me more than some of the other ones there. And then I'll also say, I think Andor, it seems like episode 1 was so long ago, so therefore episodes 4, 5, and 6 seem long ago. I really like Lieutenant Gorn. I really like someone in this series that is about spies and rebels and undercover. This guy's he's in it. He's in the Empire. And we got Lonnie, and Lonnie's Lonnie. I like Lonnie, but Lieutenant Gorn was making this big, powerful, risky decision, and it all comes down to that scene on top of the dam there, where it's personal. Where you know his story now, so he can't say what the real reasons are to the officer underneath him. Could you imagine all these Donnies out there? I can. We know it came out of a connection that was love, that was personal, was intimate. And that's this story. We keep talking about it. You talk wonderfully about the personal versus the ideological. And you got Gord. Yeah, he's got this big rebelling is a good idea, but it also comes from this personal connection of this love that he could not fully experience, this love that might have been undercut and destroyed by the Empire. And I thought that was really great. I think Gord and his story and his sacrifice is part of the things I love about Andor as well.
Yeah, no, you're saying a lot of great things, Ken. I'm really curious about your take on Kino Loy. I want to ask you a question. So
It'll cost you.
I'm Venmoing you $10. We talk a lot about tip of the iceberg storytelling, and I think it is one of the compelling things about Star Wars. From the original trilogy, it built out the world and made you curious about cool things, and it made it feel big. And then a lot of times it is really rewarding to, hey, I'm glad that we heard about them Clone Wars in great details, right? For me, there's something about Kino Loy that it's just so beautiful. My headcanon is it probably didn't go great for him after that. The same way it probably didn't go great for Radis after his victory at Scarif. In this instance, are you okay? Do you desire to know more about Kino Loy, or do you just want it to be this beautiful little snapshot of what we saw?
I am content with being a beautiful snapshot. I have the thought of, I keep saying, you go back in, you have a blaster, get a blaster. Is there a ship to get off? Is there a boat, a submarine? Did they get off? Or is the Empire just so worried and fearful that even their own soldiers can't get off unless a ship comes for them, right? I could see that. It's pretty brutal. So does he know that? Can you figure that out? Does he do the dive off and die in the trine? Maybe that's it. It's played in that way. It's pulling on your heartstrings for a reason, where he's whispering, I can't swim. Because Cassian and Melshi would have been like, get in, we got you.
Yeah, we're going to carry you. It's good.
And they can't, they get knocked off. And so does someone else do that? It's possible. It's certainly possible. But yeah, all of it runs in my head. I don't know if he just stood there. I can't imagine at that point if he just stands there and, well, I'll be recaptured again. I think he would die because he already kind of counted himself as dead, as he said in his speech earlier. So that's where I'm at.
Does he go, back blaster blazing to buy people time? I don't know.
That's what I would do. That's what I would do. God forbid, I'm not going to be on Narkina 5 in my lifetime, but that's what I would do. If I was a late bloomer in swimming. Like, I was like 4th, 5th grade before I learned to swim. We didn't go to the pool a lot, even though I grew up near the beach. So it's hard. It's hard to ask for help when you're in the water. You just don't want to do it. So I think I connected with Kino even on that level. But I would have gone back and fought those cowards in the supply closet and just cleared out as much as I could.
Yeah.
We're taking that back. But as far as knowing, I'm content with that. But again, would it be great to just have Melshi go, hey, Cassian, you're here. You made it. Hey, guess who's here?
Yeah, and that's I think Niamos is not doing great. But yeah, if Cassian makes it back to Niamos during his time in the rebellion, like Kino's just like, I opened a bar. It'd be great. I wish that. I don't think that. I think I think maybe that's what I come down on is I don't need to be an absolutist about the tip of the iceberg. Sometimes I want to know the rest of the story, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And there's something just so simple and poetic of Kino Loy did this, and just like in Luthen's speech, he doesn't get to enjoy the sunrise, but he helped make the sun come up for anybody else who survived. That's so beautiful, all by itself.
It's absolutely beautiful, and resonates with me in some personal ways as well. But also, I do. Maybe Brian Ward can make this poster of episode 1 of season 2 begins with them on Coruscant. They go to grab a bite to eat, and Kino's like, "Hey guys, I just bought this place from Dexter. He retired. It's Kino's diner now. Come on in." Cleaning the glass.
Yeah. Can I tell you our specials? What's on program today? No, we wouldn't want that. Upsetting.
Love that.
All right. I can't remember who last picked.
I know, but I do have one that's a super chat from a while ago. You got one?
I just saw a comment that I really agree with.
Bring it up.
Clang from Social Tortoise. Davo's son has certainly been roasted by young Leia at a luncheon. That's the crossover we need between Kenobi and Andor. Oh my! Oh, very funny.
Just shoot that series in a couple years with Vivian Lyra Blair, right? Just have her like, Oh, you think the golden name is big? Well, let me tell you what.
Young Leia's luncheon roasts.
Love that. Back at 5. I want to bring this up before I forget this one. Super chat from Chris Ray. Hey guys, love the podcast. Thank you, Chris, and your thoughtful takes on all things Star Wars as it's Thanksgiving. What is one thing about Andor you're most thankful for as we finish the absolute feast of a series? That's good. We did a full kind of discussion about what we're thankful for in Star Wars on the news episode on Tuesday. Check that out if you missed that. But in regards to just the Andor series, Joseph, there's got to be some things that you're thankful for, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm thankful for so much of it. It's hard to pin it down to one thing. I guess I'll say that I think I'm thankful for a Star Wars story that took all of the ideas of Star Wars about what does freedom mean? What does tyranny mean? The light side and the dark side, fear versus hope. They aren't just things for Jedi and Sith and Force users. They are real things, and they have, if you want to embrace it that way, real connection to our choices in the real world. I always think of the first film, Star Wars: A New Hope, having this DNA of lots of things that Star Wars can be represented by Luke, Han, and Leia. Of Luke is the mystical and the destiny and the Force, and Han is the scoundrel and the bounty hunters and the make a better choice, and Leia is the political and the rebellion and the real. And I feel like in some ways this show takes everything that Leia represents and some Han scoundrel and just makes it so it doesn't run in the background. You can't ignore it. When we did our Clone Wars report episodes, I was really excited to go, hey, as we watch this fun episode that has some chases and some speeches and some cool stuff, let's really remember what the news reporter, the Tom Kane voice said at the beginning, because it's explicitly political. There are episodes where, like, here's Padme's list of progressive policy ideas. And that's what this episode is about. It lays it out, but then you could get caught up in it and kind of go, this is a Star Wars. I think I'm most thankful that Andor is a show that is incredibly explicit about those stakes that I think are lots of places in Star Wars. If, like Clem said in this episode, you can look down, you can look past the rust. You can look past the laser swords and the weird aliens, and you can see it's always been about this. But Andor gave it this gift of you can't look away. You can't not see it. It's the surface. It's everything. It's what it is.
I always said that the show felt like it was grabbing you by the shirt collar and saying, look at me, and point it out. And there'll be time to discuss. I think you and I might discuss it on our wrap-up episode next week with Jennifer, because we're going to bring Jennifer on instead of the news next week. We're going to do an Andor wrap-up. Jennifer's got her great content on her TikTok page and Instagram and YouTube channel, but we want to discuss Andor with her. Get the chance to do that next week. But I've I don't know. So the a lot of what you're talking about has been used against the rest of Star Wars, and that bums me out. But at the core of it is this idea of exactly what Andor's done. It has done what you said. it sat people down and said, all right, you thought the other stuff was a little silly, but you missed maybe what was going on in Padme's speech about Liberty dying, what was going on in Leia's fight, what was going on in the sequel trilogy with generational trauma and the cycles of violence, what was going on in Boba Fett and Kenobi and Mando. You can't ignore it right now. It is here. You don't have to agree with maybe some of the things it's saying in a real world sense, but it's here. This is what Star Wars is about. Its core. It strips so much of it away. And I'm thankful for that. I'm also thankful, by the way, that, for the most part, for those that watched it, this was a very loved show. Some of the problems I had with the discourse were about people now maybe retroactively going, or not even retroactively, but going back and attacking other shows, or not just other shows, but other parts of Star Wars. You and I defend the prequels, not just because we love Jar Jar, we do, but also in pod racing, I do, and you do, but because of what it is. It is so overtly political. It is so important to the real world discussions, the prequels. But people got excited. People got excited for all that. And so I'll put that other discourse aside and just say I'm really thankful that for 10 weeks now, we had people ready every week, unanimously just sitting down, loving Andor. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
Thankful for that.
And I think I mentioned this on one of the podcasts, but I think it's kind of a fascinating journey of Lucas has always been interested in these ideas of what is tyranny? How do you fight it? What does freedom really mean? And that's what THX 1138 is about. And then he felt like, people are kind of bummed out by that. So what if I put some of those ideas in a really fun, exciting, life-affirming package of Star Wars? And then now we've gone almost full circle where in some ways it's the THX 1138 vibe in Andor of like, let's make it real clear.
Yeah. Like I said, it's grabbing you.
It's grabbing you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm also thankful for the time grappler. So
yeah. Yeah. Very thankful for the time grappler.
I'm also thankful for the traveling businessman who had that conversation with Luthen in episode 2.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Where else we got here? We got a few coming in here. We got a figure question from buddy Ken Plume. Anything jumping out to you, sir?
No, let's smash that figure button because that'll be a challenging one for me.
Yeah, I say our buddy Ken Plume, who of course this is a great show, Force 5 here on YouTube that we've both been guests on. What 3 unannounced Andor figures do you want? The biggest problem is I kind of lose track of what is announced and what is actually out or what is forthcoming. So not to repeat a podcast answer, I really do want the betrothal scene. I want Lita, Stecken, and the Skolden family, and Mothma and Perrin in a 3 3/4 6-pack with the old school, not even plastic, the old school cardboard Mothma apartment, embassy apartment there, and I want that set there. But more of a serious answer. I definitely want. I know there's Luthen stuff, but I want to make sure I have the ability to switch his outfits. I want a character with a wig that comes on and off. And then he turns around, then you can like get his fingers, and he does like the Luthen, like, oh, okay, I'm in character.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think for me, the number one is the vintage deluxe time grappler. Because they've been putting out the deluxe ones and charging like $87. Some figure fans I'm exaggerating, but upset about the price of the deluxe ones. But my deluxe Boba Fett comes with 2 stormtrooper helmets, very deluxe. But time grappler can come with the 2 hammers and the metal instrument, so good. Bonus stormtrooper that you can kick off.
Yes,
the tower. Best action moment in Star Wars. Time grappler. There's a Black Series Mothma announced, but of all of the amazing outfits she wears, it's one of her outfits that's a little bit more similar to her classic outfit. And so I like more Black Series, but more vintage. I would love her Senate jacket. That blue jacket. That's fire.
Yeah, fire
flames.
some Some great ceremonial brazo with brick would be a great option for Nicholas. But I've got to bring this one up here. This isn't about a figure, but it would speak to our hearts here. GJ says, I wish Batu also had a time grappler. That would be epic for Galaxy's Edge, and Ken and Joseph could do it part-time every week, every other afternoon. But I like it. Like if you were to go to Galaxy's Edge and you put in for a lottery, and then you get to be the time grappler of the day.
Oh yeah, and you be there on the day where some 6-year-old got to be the time grappler and just get up there going bang 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 bang.
It's just you and me down below going. That's not how you do it. That's not how you do
it. It's the heartbeat of the community, kid. Come on, come on.
My grandparents, rest in peace, lived around the corner. So now my aunt lives in the house, and every night we'd see if you visited, you'd see the fireworks. Right, it was that close. So now I can only imagine my aunt sitting in her upstairs bedroom going, "What is that ringing? What is that? There it is again. Gong, 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 gong."
Yeah, I mean the final one I want is Nemik with Manifesto and models.
Yeah.
Nemik in unpainted space miniatures.
That's a great idea. Could they just release a miniature? Our mutual friend Joe Starr, he loves painting his miniatures. They got to release the Aldani miniature set that you can paint.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah. No, and they have the troop building sets that they put out, and I'm so tempted by some of those, the clone troopers and the shore troopers. But they need a Ferrix marching band troop builder set with all those weird space instruments.
That really seems like a Celebration exclusive. Like you get Figrin Dan and the modal nodes. You get the Ferrix Memorial Marching Band. Big box.
I just got a solo carded Figrin Dan. He's in my place of honor on my desk right now. I can't wait to share him more. The hole in his mouth, so beautiful.
That's a great idea. I love that. Yeah, what's funny is, look, without a doubt, Andor is more grounded. It's more dark and gritty, and all those terms everyone uses to describe it every week, and those are not inaccurate at all. But the idea that there isn't cool toys to be had, I don't know if they're toys for children. This definitely speaks to the adults in the toy aisles at Targets and Toys R Us fighting the kids for toys. I don't think the kids are there for this one, but other than maybe B2 emo, of course. But yeah. And we Fetty and Dewey.
Oh yeah, for sure. With their wet net action.
Their wet net action. We mentioned that on the episode on the podcast, but yeah. That'd be big. That'd be biggie. That'd be biggie.
Yeah, that'd be biggie purchase.
Yeah. Love that.
So many great options. Do you have another one in mind, or should I grab something?
You can grab a question or do have a comment. Still Bill, thanks for the super chat. You guys are freaking wizard. Thank you for what you do. We appreciate that. We appreciate y'all in chat having fun hanging out with us here. Brian Ward says rank the Star Wars marching bands. Well, 2 so far, right? Is there others? Augie kind of, for me, Augie has a leg up, but Augie's band didn't start a revolution there. So
nope, not that we are aware of. I'm scrolling back because there was one a ways back to see if I can find it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great discussion going on. I have to make some band noises. Ken, if you have one, I'm scrolling back.
A lot of great conversations tonight. So I'm trying to go pull that. Well, Brian Ward's got this on program cinema scene with like 50 figures. That's the thing. I want a Kino Loy figure, but man, that's a weird thing to want, right? This man incarcerated, probably wrongly incarcerated former union leader. It's not. I guess you could choose to celebrate the bittersweet freedom ending. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I want a Linus Mosk figure. I want him to be back in the era of. They did it with Phantom Menace. They did it again with Last Jedi and Solo, where the figures talk. I want Linus Mosk to come with a flask. And then when you put him against the little reader, he says the naughty S word. For kids. Okay, this is a ways back. GJ has sent some great questions, but I think this is a really interesting one. How do you feel that the series doesn't set up any specific cliffhanger at the end of the finale, but all the tension towards season 2 is circumstantial and because of the characters and their progress? Ken, where do you go with this one?
I sorry. I have Molly and Alex's stream on just in the background to keep. And there's a question that came in that just made me laugh, but it's brutal. I can't repeat it on air.
All right.
Sorry, I totally was distracted there. I love this. I talked on the podcast about how I thought this was such a hopeful ending in terms of a lot of characters living, but also Deidre and Cyril lived on. And I do agree with this. I took it as kind of, I guess, emotional cliffhangers, and I think that's what GJ is kind of saying. That, and I'm really the fact that this series, which had it was very artistic at times. There was a couple moments that the series got a little pompous for me with some of its endings, but I still loved it week to week, obviously. But this ending seemed like a good middle ground where it's like, no, we got a season 2, and we're setting up some stuff, but nothing's necessarily resolved. Deidre and Cyril didn't even kiss or fight. Like, you don't know. Like, we just don't know. But it all kind of, I really enjoyed that for the show because it also ended up kind of being, like I said, a hopeful ending when all those, survivors, so to speak, on Ferrix got in that ship and were ferried away, I should say. I love that. So yeah, I like where we ended, and I'm glad. I'm bummed to have to wait, but I'm glad where we are.
Yeah, and I feel like, if all the reports are to believe, the show's just about written. They're beginning production, so the show's going to be what the show's going to be, which is great.
Yeah.
I was really happy with this. I thought that there might be a possibility that a lot of the characters that we were meeting were for season 1.
Yeah.
And I thought there might be a bloodbath. I thought maybe Dedra doesn't make it. Maybe Cyril doesn't make it. Maybe Luthen doesn't make it. And we're kind of resetting. I'm really thrilled after the investment that we had with these characters, where we kind of spent a long time with a lot of them. But they're also just kind of like slowly moving forward, and every scene with them is rich, but they're all of these ideas that are attached to them and their relationships aren't done yet. So I was really thrilled to be like, oh, this 2-season show Andor is going to continue to be a show about multiple people with Andor in the lead.
Yeah.
But we're going to follow whatever's going to go on with Dedra and Cyril, which we can talk about. We might follow the followers of Ferrix. We might understand what happens to Luthen. Does Luthen's, a little bit more hard-edged view at rebellion, does it fall apart?
Yeah.
Does he get to a moment where he realizes, I'll sacrifice anyone for the rebellion, and right now the person who needs to die for the rebellion to go on is me.
Yeah.
Does he hand the codes and the keys to Mothma? Like, I feel like there are thematic cliffhangers and practical cliffhangers, and they weren't presented in a sort of dun 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 direct plot way. But there's so many unresolved threads, which I think is what GJ is saying, and I really, really agree with. I think the one that I was most affected by, and people have been discussing it in chat. We discussed it on the podcast. Is the Dedra in Cyril, in my opinion, definitely disturbing relationship, but fascinating relationship. I'm extremely happy and terrified to see that continue and to see that sort of. And I thought that one ended at an emotional thematic cliffhanger for sure.
Yeah, no, I love the way they did. Looking ahead to season 2, I'll say this right to bring up Luthen stuff. I think Luthen goes early. I think he's there. I think what stuff you talk about is in play, and I think he goes early. I think he bows out somehow, some way, with a death early in season 2. That's what I think. Putting mark down. I may have had too much Bacardi Gold because I normally don't like to do predictions, but that's what I'm feeling.
Well, I do think that we know where we end up, and Luthen ain't calling the shots on Yavin, so we'll see. Did you find anything that you wanted to? Any questions you want to bang with the time grappler hammer?
Yeah, no, sorry. It was just taking care of some admin work there. Just looking around. People are celebrating, talking about figures here. A lot of people, the figure conference, a lot of good answers for the figure thing. So if you got a question here or a comment, let me know here. I am looking. Sorry, this is live. You're looking live here.
Well, here's a good response to what we were just talking about from Heath. And it ends on him, I think, being Cassian. If we didn't know his future, we'd have called this a cliffhanger ending.
That's actually a very good point.
Yeah.
Oh, Rob, here's the thankful one too. I'm thankful for all the Andor jackets. A lot of good clothing. The jackets, the costume design. Yeah. Love it.
I loved Andor's look in this final episode. He looked like, okay, I've got fewer clothes on. I'm less bundled up. I'm ready for action. I want that figure too.
Yeah, I think again the clothing we talked about earlier in the podcast during the season. Talk about Lieutenant Gorn. A lot of the Imperials. They had Imperial outfits on. You're like, hey, cool, that's that Star Wars thing. But even like a lot of the rain jackets look just very, very real in a way that I hadn't seen in Star Wars in a while. Which is no shade on any other show at all. I just thought I loved that. It just seemed the stitching seemed so real. It didn't seem like an outfit, it just seemed like, no, this is Gorn's rain jacket. This is Luthen's cape and hood. I really loved a lot of the choices made. Mothma's costuming was just wonderful, intricate and elegant and powerful. Loved all the stuff there. Even the choices made for like Perrin and Lita. A lot of wonderful, interesting choices. Melchi's shirt at the end. Niamos Melchi was an interesting design, and I take that figure as well. I think even I saw Brian Ward tweet out that that should be a Celebration exclusive shirt next year.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at how much the Numidian Prime Lando shirt, killed it.
Love that there. All right, got a question here from Still Bill. If you were in a Ferrix funeral procession and could play any imaginable instrument, well, what would you play? Space Quanon? I don't know that. I only played guitar. Space tuba, and I didn't play well. Space oboe. Joseph, you were a drummer, right? So
yes.
Would you do a little drum, or was this a chance to change it up?
Oh no, I'd be happy to play the drum. I think I really liked how there were space drums with that very different kind of head that looked like some sort of like animal leather. Yeah, that was absolutely great. I'm not good with the wind instruments. I've tried. I'm not.
No.
My wife was in marching band, and she always tells me about it. And early on in our dating, it's a quote we still talk about. She was talking about what instruments worked for marching, and she's like, "Well, you can't march with a double wood." And I was like, "What? Okay, great." But I'm doing Figrin Dan again. So last night, I show my wife Figrin Dan, and he comes with the clue horn, but 3 other instruments. Yeah. And my wife's like, "Oh, that's space this, that's space that." She totally identified each instrument.
Really? I mean, she's skilled beyond belief as a human, but yeah, it's amazing.
When I do my not unboxing video about this, I'll probably have my wife as a guest. Be like, "Can you say what real Earth instruments these are like?" Anyway.
Yeah. Like I said, I learned about 2 chords for a while in the late 90s, so that's about all I got. But I do own a tambourine, so I'm going to have to take a tambourine. The thing is, if I need to fight and I'm in the Ferrix funeral procession marching band, I think the tambourine's a good weapon to have, like an oversized brass knuckles.
Yeah. Oh, here's a great answer from our friend Brian Ward. I'd play the shock bell. That is right. Good old space cows.
Love it. We're hanging out here for about 20 more minutes, so if you got any questions, get them on in. We appreciate your super chats, of course, but not necessary to be part of this conversation here. Johnny C says next stream Joseph plays the drums. Yeah.
With Cassian strolling through the.
We gotta get some footage of you drumming. We'll put it up on Forcecenter.
So loud. Yeah, I'll unearth some of the ancient footage.
Love that there. I got one if you unless you got
go for it
up there. Yeah, sorry. Oscar Film Forecast checks in. How much of a droid's personality do you think comes from their programming, and how much influence do the surrounding peers have? K2 and B2 are not like Cassian at all. Great question. I've spoken often and loudly at times that one of the things I love about K2 and his death, that it's about choice over programming. It is about change and growth, even in a droid. It changed the way maybe we look at droids. L3 comes along later. Some controversies maybe around how some of the stuff with L3 was handled, but I think overall you get a droid that thinks for itself, acts for itself, and wants to be itself. And we grew up, Kenobi. You and I love Kenobi. Kenobi's your guy. He's your man, Kenobi, like Tubes. But, he's got a complicated relationship with droids at times. And I think I grew up I was one of the ones looking down on 3PO and R2, right? Which is the same. And I think along the way, along with many other things that modern Star Wars has done to recontextualize my thoughts, Tuskens is a great example. My love of the Ewoks has grown. My understanding of Gungans and the relationship to the Naboo and the decisions made there by Padme and Boss Nass and everyone's changed over the years. I think looking at droids has been one of the big ones for me. I've even said on old Spotlight Star Wars episodes, I don't collect droids. I don't buy them. I don't display them. But then BB-8 comes along. That's definitely someone personality. But K2 changed the game for me. K2 really did. Because this question, I don't know if I have the perfect answer for it, Oscar Film Forecast, but I think there's a little AI at play. There's a room to grow and adapt in some of these droids. Maybe not everyone. I don't know if a Treadwell joins the rebellion on its own. But B2 having the early on, the lying takes energy was a huge moment for me. Love that moment. That the act of a lie that it can process, it can recognize, and I am not giving the truth out in this situation takes energy from it, drains it. That's important stuff. So I don't know the answer. I just love what they've done with it. It's changed the game for droids for me personally.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love the idea that droids can and do evolve, and I feel like for the most part, that's. I feel like maybe Oscar F. Forecast Esquire's question is a little bit nature versus nurture, right? Of like you're programmed, but then are you changed by what you're around? And with nurture, and I kind of think the answer is yes, because I think we've seen that of like R2 develops more as he's never wiped, and he gets all this information, and he keeps growing and learning and adapting, right? And changing and becoming more. I feel like that's the great Queel speech about IG-11, right? Of like, just because you started one way doesn't mean you have to stay that way. And everything we see about with IG-11 in that Queel montage can be like programming, but what we actually see is teaching. We see parenting, right? We see this is how we behave. This is a good choice. This is a bad choice. You know? So I think that the Star Wars philosophy is that droids absolutely can and do evolve. In my headcanon, that stretcher droid that's carrying Olaf in the prison on Arcana 5, I want to believe that stretcher droid somehow grabbed some blasters and helped in the revolt.
Oh, I like that idea. That's a great idea. Would love to have seen that. Still Bill says, I still view droids as breeds of dogs. Yeah, there's something to that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I have 2 Chihuahuas. That's close to BB-8 and R2 as I think you can get.
I got another one I can bang the Ferrix gong on.
Gong.
He says, any thoughts on Luthen's unyielding extremist, dark-cloaked ways? Suddenly stunned by Marva's spontaneous revolution and Andor's take me in. Bonus thoughts on Luthen's amazing smile to Andor. We talked earlier a little bit about some kind of opinions of how what different emotions are going through Luthen's head as he watches that Marva speech. But how do you ultimately reckon Luthen comes here with this frankly dark agenda of Cassian's a loose end and he's got to go, and I don't even trust Vel and Cinta to do it. I got to be there. Or maybe there's a hope in his heart he can rescue him, but that's not what he expressed to Vel. He's pretty clear, like, hey, nope, this is great. The Empire will expose him and we'll take him out. Awesome. So he's coming there with that in his heart. Is Anton Krieger and his 30 people are wiped out. I got one more to clear off the list, and then he encounters this hope and this inspiration in this fire.
No right answer for me on this. Just some Luthen thoughts that you and I could go in for a while, because you and I both love the character of Luthen. We love what Stellan Skarsgård has done, but I think we love the questions he keeps raising. Earlier, the question about favorite characters in season 1, Saw Gerrera showing up and just being like, I got some things for you to think about. I'm not necessarily right, and you're not necessarily wrong. Love it. So going to this, I think I love a couple of moments, and I can't wait to rewatch the episode again. I've seen a couple times now, but that moment of Luthen, he's kind of heading out of town, and he's sitting back and learning, listening to the sounds, listening to the fight, listening to the sounds of rebellion, listening to the sounds of a reckoning. I do believe he goes there to kill Cassian, or that's his idea. Just like he set Anton up, just like his speech to Lonnie. I think he wants to believe all his words, and this is where you and I can probably go into a deeper conversation here. I think he wants to believe his words. I think that in the quiet moments, he doesn't know if it feels right. He maybe feels he's too far down the path, and I think this is possibly a learning step. I don't think. How can you see this? He's been sowing the seeds of rebellion. We don't know what he's seen on the ground level. He's in his shop. He's doing this. He is fighting. He's clearly got some skills in a blaster fight. He's clearly done some things. We'll learn more about that maybe. But this might be one of the times. I'm not saying it is the first time. We don't know a story. But this to actually be there and watch this happen, to watch, that's that smile to me as he's kind of watching this, that subtle smile. I think he's hearing, yes, he's kind of like, yes, this is what we need, right? Because he says, we need the oppression to breed rebellion. And he's seeing it. He's feeling it. But with it comes this powerful connection, and it all kind of funnels down to Cassian standing in front of him going, blaster's there. Blaster's there. Your choice. And that might be something new for Luthen in this era of his life, and how he carries that going forward. We'll see. I don't have that answer, but I think that's what it's done to him right now.
Yeah. No, I really agree with you. I think there is pride. This is what he wanted, right? This is why he did Eldani, according to him, to make people feel the oppression. But I also think he's used to being the chess master, right? And he thinks he understands the board on Ferrix of, yep, I know what he expresses it to Vel. I know what the Imperials are going to do, and I know what our counter move is going to do, and I'm the puppet master in the dark cloak that I put on with all my heart.
Yeah.
And then the people of Ferrix just tip the bleeping board over. Yeah. And he finds himself in a situation that he can't manipulate, he can't control, and he gets the hell out of there.
Yes.
Right? I think that's powerful, that he's used to being like, I control the rebellion. And while this is exactly what I wanted, I can't control it, and it's dangerous, and I got to step away. Like the kid threw the pipe bomb, the space pipe bomb, the other things went off. There's chaos and death. And I am not going to have that easy, elegant snipe shot from far away of Cassian that I thought I was going to get. And he even says that to Cassian, like, yeah, you sure made it hard, paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But I think when Cassian shows up, I love that scene at the end, because Luthen in the first couple episodes keeps presenting that to Cassian of this like simple binary choice of the Empire's gonna get you no matter what eventually. Do you want it to be because you robbed them of a little trinket, or do you want it to be because you are truly fighting to make a big difference? And Cassian just keeps pushing that question away. And Cassian returns to him, basically reframing Luthen's offer to himself of like, hey, Mr. Two Options, I'll give you two options. You came here to kill me, to make this sort of fearful choice, or you can accept that I'm finally all in, and you can take me in, and I can do what we were both talking about, what you claimed you wanted from me. But the choice is yours. Take it, dude. And I think that smile is like, he's got it.
Yeah.
He's got it. You know, this is what I wanted. I think for Luthen.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what he wanted.
When he went there, I think he wanted to put a blaster bolt through Cassian.
100%.
But now he gets what he wanted at the beginning. A Cassian that's all in, and those skills that can be used for the great good, for the great cause.
It might be that I'm hitting the bottom of my large, oversized Grogu rum mug here. I want to talk more about Luthen, because I think it's fascinating to me. I never want to speak to you, never do speak to you for you, but I think you and I had a different reaction to that big Luthen speech, which was a great speech and wonderfully delivered, and words that rang true, and words that people pulled out of the show and applied to their own lives. So I ain't taking that away from anyone. If that's you, that's you. And there's things that resonated with me in my real life. But I as I get my finger on the button here, I think Luthen's speech was kind of bullshit. Oh, I didn't mute myself. I think it was. I think it kind of was. Because I think he goes back to his ship and goes, what am I doing? And he still does it. Anton Merrick is dead. He's dead. But the guy who's telling Saw, do you want to fight people? who you agree with. To me, that's not the same guy who's in a cape on level 1 or whatever it is. I saw Rob's question. It goes down from top to bottom, so 1 works its way up to the top to the 5,000th level. The cape's flapping in the wind, a symbol of evil. It's a cool symbol. It looks good. It's why we all buy the Empire clothes, and at least I used to. It's not the same. It's not necessarily the same guy. I mean, it's the same guy, but it's a wrestling. It's a wrestling. It's really a wrestling to me. And the stuff he's saying to Lonnie is he wants it to be more true. And I think in his heart he knows he's lost, but the fight will go on. And I just wonder going forward that with what Cassian has done and presented him with, and what he just witnessed. And I'm not saying he's a coward, but he goes away. He doesn't pick up a baton and fight. He doesn't take one of his grenades. He doesn't pick up a blaster, which he's clearly good at. He runs away. I mean, and again, not as a coward, but he goes, my mission of killing Cassian can't happen here. And the Cassian gives his choice. I'm fascinated to see where it goes. Because you and I know the benefit of Star Wars history is Mothma wins in a way. Her thoughts on this, her theories on this win over the likes of Saw, over the likes of Luthen, the likes of anyone else who wants to fight with the tools of the Empire. It's a complicated thing, and I'm a little rum drunk, and I pressed the wrong button. So I'll pitch it back to you. But that's where I love the Luthen character because he asks these questions.
Now I want to see Lieutenant Mosk trying to bleep himself. No, I totally agree with you. And feel free to bleep me anytime, even if I'm not saying a swear word, just if you're done with that particular syllable.
I don't want to get to my morning radio side. I'll start doing drops here.
Oh, we should absolutely do one live Q&A that's just totally like wacky radio zoo crew time.
We can make a joke. Yeah, no, I'm not.
You are ready to go.
I'm done.
Ready to go. Yeah. No, I agree with your Luthen thoughts. A lot of people have great different takes, wondering if he was testing Vel, which I think is absolutely a possibility too, because I think Vel and Cinta are centered as kind of on different poles, absolutely committed to the rebellion, but Vel is so laser focused on we are not them, to the point where she says that of we're not going to randomly kill your family. There's a lot of possibility that Cinta then was like, no, we are, and did. So Vel and Cinta are on different sides of it. Luthen, I think, is stuck in the middle. I agree with you. I think his speech is it's honest because it's what he's feeling. It's what he wants to be true. It's what he has to tell Lonnie to shut the door and say, do your job, kid. But I think it's meaningful that he then goes to Saw and says, yeah, I mean, but it's up to you. I mean, I guess I can't stop you, Saw, if you want to warn Krieger. I don't. It's probably not the best idea for you to do that, but So I think that smile is just it's relief, right?
Yeah.
Instead of having to say anything for the cause and mercilessly kill this man at his mom's funeral,
right?
And instead have this talented, valuable leader come here and say, I want in. I want to fight. That's Luthen's birthday. Like that's candles and space champagne. That's what he truly wants.
It's Luthen's birthday. I promise to not do this much more on the show, but I always make the reason I bring up Stannis Baratheon a lot is it's one of my favorite characters. Okay, the reason but I get in fights with people where I'm like, you're not supposed to root for him. I think you are supposed to root for Luthen, but that Saw scene where he comes to Saw and tells him the truth, it reminds me of when Stannis goes to Davos and it's like, yeah, so we're thinking of killing my nephew, and Davos is like, you don't want to do it because you came to me because I'd tell you not to. He goes to Saw, who doesn't tell him not to, who tells him like, interesting choice. Would you do that to me? So if he had gone to Mothma, if the Rebel Alliance was more in a formal structure, someone would have told him no. It just doesn't ring true. It doesn't ring true for what is right. It was needed for what, in terms of the spy game. I don't disagree with that. But yeah, he's fascinating. He's fascinating.
Fascinating.
Drifting
And
off.
I'm excited we're going to get more of them. And we have a follow-up question here, but follow-up in that it came in 10 minutes ago from Salad Von Bako.
Salad's always around these parts. Yeah.
How do you think Clea will react to Luthen taking Andor in?
She's going to be pissed.
Not good. Not good. I think Ken's going to be having to hit the bleep noise when Clea reacts.
Yes. But I think you're right. Yeah, I think she's going to be pissed, but she might know it's right.
Yeah, because I think Clea's on that side of, she has what they're fighting is against a tyrannical government that uses control and fear. And Luthen's wrestling with the fact of like, I need to use control and fear in order to fight them. I'm real upset about it. I don't like it. I'm bummed out about it. Here's a speech about it. I turned my mind into a sunless space. It's a kind of a bummer of a song. But Clea, like Cinta, is hardcore right now.
Yeah.
And I think that Clea is an example of somebody who maybe the fight is eating away at her soul. And she should be happy. I hope she's happy.
Yeah.
He's a valuable asset and he's all in. What's the problem? Unless you're leading with fear, then there's a problem.
Indeed. And by the way, I want the rebellion's got to grow too. Rebellion's got to grow too. I think you had pointed out both on air and off. You and I have had discussions about Saw. I love the character Saw Gerrera. I love Forrest Whitaker and Andrew Kashino as Saw Gerrera. What change does he actually put into place? He's fought the fought, but what actual change has he put in? And Luthen's got to start weighing that. And maybe it's not for him to weigh. Maybe it's Mothma.
Yeah. No, I think it's really, really good.
And it ain't really
good.
Clea. I love Clea. Clea is great, actually.
No,
Clea,
I love
Clea. Clea looks like someone who's worked retail on Black Friday.
Yeah, I mean, Clea is clearly super sharp, super amazing, competent, but also that sort of like, oh man, Lord, let me stay on her good side. Like,
yes.
Here, another great follow-up here from Arentha Payan. But did Cinta get the stand-down order? She is also going to be pissed. Yeah, old covered in somebody else's blood Cinta. Yeah.
I think correct. Amaranth is correct here. But I think the stand down, the emotional stand down order came from Vel. I'd love that next moment. You and I both love that scene. We both gravitated to that scene. My interpretation of that scene was Vel going, don't forget who you're fighting for just as much as why. And that was the reverse, a little bit of Cinta saying, hey, don't let your personal connection to me get in the way on top of the dam and the Aldhani heist. Don't let that get in the way of what we need to do for the bigger cause. And both are at play. You've said it so well from pretty much the beginning of the show. It's personal versus ideological. I think that is one of your great insights into what's going on. And I love that scene. I think in a way, Cinta got some orders there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think so. I really, really think so. And if not, I'm so curious to see. I don't think we're going to pick up like with Luthen and Cassian flying away together. I think we're gonna pick up with Cassian being worked into the mix and lots of tension going on between Clea and Cinta and Vel about how he's been worked into the team.
Yeah, that's a great question in terms of it's a little bit of a nuts and bolts prediction for season 2, but we know we're going to have. Am I wrong in thinking we're having 12 episodes?
I think that's what's been announced. Yeah.
Okay. And these arcs, and each arc, 3 episodes or whatnot, going to move us a year closer to Rogue One or just closer. I would love to. I know there's going to be a time jump, but I would love to see a little bit of what we're talking about. Luthen showing back up. Look what, hey, look who came over for dinner. Hey, it's Cassian. Why didn't you kill him? Hey, we're on the same team.
Yeah. No.
Clea, can you get him a uniform? We're going to put him to work here. His name's Keith. What's it? Keith Gergo, and he's going to work here in his shop.
I do need the Keith Gergo beachwear action figure that comes with Pizos. whatever those like absolutely look like would be great.
Love
Yeah.
it, love it, love it.
Yeah, no, because I think they would have reason to fear like he's too soft. He's too soft, Luthen. He cares
Yep.
about people too much. He's not willing to do the hard things he needs to do.
That's so, and Vel's going to be like, you know what? I got some thoughts on that.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Love it. Love it. I've spawned a Black Friday conversation here, which one of my least favorite things in society. So, though it's changing. Not all stores at my old mall, they're not open 24 hours, so it's great. We've made progress.
I worked Black Friday, but at a Kinko's, which was a different thing. The Black Friday of Kinko's was tax day.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Yeah, you've served in the wars.
I have fought in the retail wars and been wounded.
Love it there. Any final questions? Let us know. We've reached the point where I can't hit the mute button in the right amount of time. So let us know any final questions here. We're excited that you're all joining us here. We do want to say we're not going to announce anything, but we've had a lot of fun doing these live Q&As, and we got some more YouTube exclusive content on the way. We're excited to present to you all in the coming weeks and early into 2023.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very excited. We do have another super chat here. I'm gonna smash the metal. Are you ready?
Smash it.
From Porter Quartion. Do you think Cassian takes the vow? Seems like Luthen realized the time of vows is over when watching Marva's speech. I think that's really, really great. I really try to just watch the show, invest in the storytelling, engage with the storytelling. But with Andor, Tony Gilroy and a lot of the writers and a lot of the actors it's like they're meeting a quota, the number of interviews they give. So I try to respond to the show, but one Gilroy interview, I think like a week ago, I can't remember what outlet, somebody was asking him about so are we going to learn all about what happened to Cassian on Kenari? Why are all those kids alone? What happened to the adults? What happened to that mine? And he was like, and Tony Gilroy was like, we worked all that out. We wrote it. And then we realized we didn't need it. So it's just, you can kind of infer what you want, but we know. Reading that has made me feel like just like lots of stuff in the show that maybe we feel like, ooh, we're going to get more on that. Maybe we're not. And the vow feels like that. It feels to me like that kind of tip of the iceberg storytelling where we can kind of infer, and what I infer, my headcanon is, Luthen seems to be, he's the guy who either did or thinks he did, pulled people together and bound them with this vow.
Yeah.
But exactly what the vow is, exactly what it entailed, I don't know if we're ever going to learn that. But I really agree with Porter Quartion's perspective that according to Nemik's Manifesto, Luthen can't control this. He can't run around to every planet on the galaxy and make every person who rebels in every little way take the vow. That it's growing bigger than that.
I agree with that. I was fascinated by the idea of the vow because it pops up a lot, right? And it's a lot of times when it's used, it's like you took the vow. You took the vow. Like, whoa,
yeah.
What words?
You said no takebacks.
You had no takebacks. like with Mothma on one knee, going, like, what? Yeah. I
will not make fun of your wig. I will not tell your true identity.
Yeah, I will buy high-priced artifacts at your store, and I'm not making fun of it. I think it's great, but it seems it just might seem at this point not needed, archaic a bit, and that Luthen might learn that. These characters grow. Not everything characters say are facts. Not everything characters say are what the show is trying to make you think. It's or telling you to asking questions. The characters go places, and I think Luthen's going to go some places. So I'm obsessed with Luthen and where he's going.
Yeah. No, I really, really agree. It'll be interesting to see if the vow comes back, or if it's maybe that's how season 2 begins, of Cassian half-heartedly taking Luthen's weird vow.
He's out like at a heart tree in the north of the wall with Jon Snow taking some vow. Like it just It's like that's what I do.
He's holding Luthen's wig, taking the vow.
I love that there, but it's great. No, love it, love it. I've got this comment here from Rob Mack. Thanks to you guys, and Jennifer, for another year of great Force Center shows. Cheers. Yeah, we really appreciate that. This is all possible because of you. This is without a doubt a truth, and we're entering our 9th year of broadcasting. Started broadcasting the Force Center in 2015, in October 2015. So we're entering the 9th year of broadcasting. Crazy number. And the nice thing is, Joseph, I mean, we had that great lunch at Smokehouse, one of our favorite spots in LA, but we ain't done yet. We got more things planned, and it's made possible by all of you out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have some more questions you see coming in, Ken?
No, I just love this. The next view vow optional, fine, but we're keeping the secret handshake. That I can.
That is just fine. Just
Wow.
fine. Yeah.
Other than that, no, nothing for me. I think we can start to wrap up unless you got any questions you want to grab.
Well, I see one here popping up. Let's do this one here from Stephen Kirkpatrick. Thank you, Stephen. I personally thought Andor looked amazing. However, I also really enjoyed the volume in Mando. How do you feel about using the volume moving forward? Yeah, no, the sort of what do the shows look like, the special effects, all that stuff. For me, it's I think everybody is getting better at figuring out the volume, about what looks great on the volume, what looks challenging on the volume. I think there's some good stuff going on, some discussions, articles going on about like this time of night looks good, this time of doesn't. I think the cinematographer of the Batman, I believe, gave an interview because they used it for the one great scene between Batman and Catwoman. I think for me, there's definitely been some like, oh yeah, that's CGI in Andor, obviously. But everything on Ferrix worked so well because that was a community. So having those bricks that are the heart of that community be viscerally real, that was so great. But the moments that I've really liked for the volume is when Star Wars goes far into the fantasy and the pulpy and the imagine a strange, bizarre world. I love the volume shots when Kenobi and Vader are staring each other down on angry, stabby rock fight planet moon that we don't know what it is yet. Because it looks like the cover of an old pulp book you'd find in a dusty old bookstore that you didn't even know existed until you found that book. I think the volume is great at that, making those truly bizarre and interesting otherworld stuff. So I want the volume to be used in the ways that speak to that side of Star Wars. And I'd be happy for Star Wars to invest in, when it makes sense, when you're spending more time in one place, build the set like they did for Andor, and use both tools, and don't be absolutist about it.
Yeah, a great example of the volume stagecraft that worked for me was House of the Dragon. There's some great moments. A lot of the dragon stuff. Storm's End was stagecraft, and I thought it looked great. I think there's a lot of stuff in season 1 of Mando that works great. Yeah, and I think it's one of the things I have always been honest about my feelings of the volume, and it's conflicted, where some of it is just amazing work. And I love that the volume, as we know it, is part of the Star Wars tradition of pushing boundaries. This is exactly what George wanted to do and would be doing. So I'm all for it. Some of the comments out there of like, oh, after Andor, how can we go back to the other things? Hey, maybe you can't. Maybe that's your journey. That's not mine. I'm excited to see it, but I've had some problems with it. A lot of it, though, is budgets, and Disney and business is in the news these days. Obviously, Uncle Bob coming back. Disney, believe it or not doing as well as you might think based on the prices of churros. So budgets and budget cuts and layoffs, those are real things that might be facing. I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but that's kind of where they're at. And I think they go through the pandemic. I think Kenobi had maybe a different budget. I don't know the answer of why they went one way with this show and others with that, but I agree with you. I think this show absolutely raises the bar. I don't disagree with anyone who's said that. I just keep saying, don't leave behind the other shows because they had powerful things, volume or otherwise. And the things you glommed onto in Andor are in the other shows. You just might not like the wrapping paper, but they're there if you want, if you look beyond the rust. But I'm interested to see where the shows after Ahsoka, which is already shot, the people that already at the in-house probably already seen Andor, seen Andor, Acolyte, what they're doing, which is shooting right now. I'm interested to see the shows after that. if there's a Mando season 4, if there's a Kenobi season 2, right? I would have loved Kenobi to look more like this than some of the stuff of what I felt was contained because of the volume. But there was a worldwide pandemic that affected a lot of things, and including budgets, including how you could do things, including how many extras and how many stormtroopers you could be in the scenes. So a lot of that's factoring in. And we'll see. I'm sure there's going to be some discourse when Mando season 3 shows up of this looks bad, and maybe some of it doesn't look as good. But I'm with you. Going forward, maybe approach it in a different way.
Absolutely. Really agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Brian Ward says Mando season 4 to be shot on iPhone and available only on the Apple iWatch.
What a surprise that would be.
Yeah. Comment here. I want Bix to find a place on the beach where she can be at peace. I like that idea as well. The character of Bix went through some horrible things, but I think she was a lot of heart, and a lot of her little pained and muttered lines at that finale hit home. I know for you and for me as well. So yes, I agree with this as well.
I thought it was so hopeful the way the community started to get through to her, right? She recognized the song. She jumped along the song. She recognized the chant "Sky and Stone," which we talk about a lot on the podcast. That she's the one who says to the rest of that beleaguered ship at the end, Cassian will be back for us, after being in the beginning of the season being like, Cassian, you're a great guy, but you never follow through. You're never around.
Yeah.
And now she believes in him. That was a level of just kind of like hope that I didn't have after seeing the condition Bix was in. So I was really, really happy for that. And she deserves to be on that beach. She deserves a pizzo if she wants one. She deserves Melshi's shirt if she wants it. Yeah. Everything for Bix.
Everything for Bix. Wonderful character. Wonderful stuff. All right. Is that it, my friend? Is that it?
I believe it is.
I think so. I'm going to go have a blueberry muffin and play Fortnite until I have to go to the gym. Both those things don't seem to work together. But a lot of fun. We really enjoy doing this here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for the great discussion, the great thoughts. It's such a wonderful, deep, complex show that Andor is, and I love seeing everybody's thoughts. So thank you so much for sharing them with us. I can't wait for more fun Star Wars talking, Ken.
Absolutely. You can follow us on Twitter at Forcecenter Pod. You can go to Hive and follow us at Forcecenter as we play around on the Hive there. Joseph's doing a great job over there, sharing his content there. You can follow us on all the normal places. Thank you again for those who listen and support the podcast. That's always kind of our first spot, but YouTube here, we're going to be growing some stuff. So subscribe, ring that bell so you get the notifications, never miss a live show or any new videos coming your way. All right, my friends, I think that's it.
Yeah, that
happy
is
holidays. If you're celebrating, have a good Thanksgiving, or like me, just take a good nap. We'll see you next time here on Forcecenter.